Ladies and gentlemen, before we get started today, again, I want to thank you, first of all, for being here. Thank you. But additionally, we are, again, in an alternative location as we finish the technology upgrades to the BOCC chambers upstairs. Ladies and gentlemen, before we get started today, again, I want to thank you. This is a great reminder. But additionally, we are, again, in an alternative location as we finish the technology upgrades to the BOCC chambers upstairs. Ladies and gentlemen, before we get started today, again, I want to thank you. This is a great reminder. But additionally, we are, again, in an alternative location as we finish the technology upgrades to the BOCC chambers upstairs. All right, I'm going to keep talking and see how we best address this issue. But thank you for your patience, is what I was hoping to say. With any technical difficulties, audio, video, or otherwise, that we may have today. And see how we best address this issue. But thank you for your patience, is what I was hoping to say. With any technical difficulties, audio, video, or otherwise. Thank you for politely lying to me, Shirley. We'll get into those items soon enough and recognize the importance and the breadth of what Johnson County is doing for its residents, who ultimately are the customer that we are here to serve. Soon enough. It's still going. And the breadth of what Johnson County is doing for its residents, who ultimately are the customer. The echo is here. It's still going. Yeah, maybe we tried just turning the speakers off and projecting here on our side. We do need the microphones for the recording, obviously, but we need to fix the audio in the room, and we're diligently working on that. Which is why this is, I think, a good example of the technology upgrades that we need in the BOCC room. Obviously, but we need to fix the audio in the room, and we're diligently working on that. Which is why this is, I think, a good example of the technology upgrades. We will have Commissioner Fast virtually today, and I wonder if maybe we're getting it through the microphone for her.
If that's a problem, I can log off, Chairman Kelly.
No, Becky, we want you to be here today. We don't think it's you. I'm just lobbing ideas in an area in which I am unqualified.
If that's a problem, I can.
And I'm supposed to just keep talking. Anybody else is welcome to join me here, because I imagine this is not fun for our various guests that have joined us and given time out of their busy days to otherwise be here for our very exciting meeting on November 13th. Lucky 13 today. You know, I've always thought of that as a somewhat unlucky number. My wife is a Swiftie, though, so 13 has taken on a whole new meaning in our household. Oh, please, gosh. Improv. So I need a place. Can somebody give me a place from the crowd? Do we have a place? A Swiftie. Oh, Jeff, thank you. Let me start with that. Taylor Allison Swift was born in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, in the year of our Lord 1988, and from humble roots has become a global phenomenon as not only Christmas Tree Farm. The season is coming. Oh, no way. There we go. 9:37, and we are off the rails, ladies and gentlemen. No, the fate of Ophelia. I love the Shakespeare references that she continues to drop in her lyrical artistry. And now her 12th album, The Life of a Showgirl. Not the legendary album of Karma I think some people were waiting for, but a good album nonetheless that has continued to dominate the Billboard Top 100 charts. God, still going. Okay. Not the legendary album of Karma I think some people were waiting for. No, we appreciate the impacts to not only the economy but the culture that one of Johnson County's most famous residents provides, and we love having Taylor Swift here and getting to claim her as our own. We appreciate the impacts to not only the economy but the culture. I thought maybe we're close there, but Jeff, to your ultimate question, a Swiftie is a unique brand of fan who follows not only the music but the social media, the concerts, the new video series on Disney Plus that starts next month, a 6-part behind-the-scenes story about the eras. But the social media, a wife, a daughter, and many people in my life. I won't say just women, but people in my life that really enjoy Taylor Swift's music and brand. And it's been a lot of fun to see that through the lens, especially being here in Kansas City, how that has impacted the culture. Should I stop now, Bill?
Lives here in Johnson County.
All right, there we go.
Thank you, Bill. Did you reboot?
Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Isaac. Thank you, everybody, for your patience. My sincere apologies for that. But without further ado, we'll get started with the meeting. Thank you for your patience. Hopefully that's the last of the Mike Kelly musings for the day. Right. Good morning. My name is Mike Kelly. I'm the chair of the Board of County Commissioners in Johnson County, Kansas. We're here on November 13th, 2025 for today's meeting of the Board of County Commissioners of Johnson County, Kansas. I will note that we are in our alternative location while the technology upgrades continue in the BOCC chambers upstairs. Therefore, we appreciate your patience with any technical difficulties that we may experience or continue to experience during today's meeting. With that, I would like to ask the clerk to call the roll of the board.
Commissioner Fast.
Aye.
Commissioner Myers.
Aye.
Myers, aye.
I got her. Commissioner Brewer.
Brewer here.
Commissioner Hanslick.
Hanslick here.
Commissioner Ashcraft.
Here.
Commissioner Allen Brand.
Allenbrand, aye.
Chairman Kelly.
Aye. We are full on our quorum today. All BOCC members are in attendance. If you'd all join me as you're so able and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all very much. If you'd join me in checking your cell phone or any other noise-making device that you may have brought with you this morning, making sure that it's turned to silent, we really appreciate your cooperation. We'll start today with the public comment portion of our agenda. It's an opportunity for speakers to address the BOCC on general items of county business that did not appear on today's, if you register in advance with that particular action item. If you do happen to speak on an action item during this general public, I ask you refrain at this time and hold your comments until the action item. When you do come to the podium, we do ask you state your name and the community in which you reside here in Johnson County. We limit these comments to 2 minutes. If you happen to go beyond that time period, we will give you an opportunity to conclude your comments after that 2 minutes has expired. We do ask that during these comments that you refrain from remarks that are personally offensive, impertinent, profane, or slanderous, or any remarks that would insult or demean any person or groups of persons. If we happen to stray into that kind of public comment, we will ask that you refrain. If it continues, we will ask that you step aside from the dais. We do ask that individuals register in advance for these public comments. We do offer a virtual option. However, I don't believe anybody has taken that virtual option today for public comments. Therefore, we are going to call on speakers in the order that they have registered, and we'll start with Mr. Brian Perkins today.
Good morning. Brian Perkins here. I currently reside in Olathe, Kansas, and I am homeless. A few of you know I spoke to you this morning recently. Someone that has spoken here previously has had a stroke. I received that phone call yesterday, and it wasn't easy to get. I could just tell something was wrong, and now she is hospitalized. And I went through this once before with a gentleman named Dave. He was scared beyond belief, and one thing I noticed between both of these individuals is they're more worried about housing while they're in the hospital. They're scared for housing rather than their own health. They're already trying to survive. They're already in survival mode. That's how deep it's gotten. They're just too worried about how am I going to get back? How am I going to keep going over here? And the lack of their own health, it's gone. Like, they don't even think about it. And I think that's something we all know is the elderly community is a very high population that is growing in the homeless community. A lot of things are tough at the moment. SNAP, we know that's been a challenge. Low-income housing is a challenge. Doesn't mean it's impossible. As I've spoken to a few of you previously today and before, from lived experience side, if you want to contact me, I'd love it. I'd love to be a part of this. I spoke to you, Mr. Commissioner Ashcraft, last week. Did you want to speak to me about kind of like housing or homeless czar? I get it. I think I see where you're coming from. I have thoughts and ideas. Chairman Kelly, we spoke this morning from a lived experience side, from also others that I've spoken to on a professional side on the homeless, being there for the homeless. I can help you. Commissioner Brewer, same thing. I have ideas, thoughts that I think are pretty in line. So reach out. Hanslick, same thing. There's a lot of immediate needs. There's a lot, not just one. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll have Ben Hobart.
Ben Hobart, Westwood Hills. Chairman Kelly and Commissioners, I am struck by the fact that way back in May 2023, Commissioner O'Hara and Sheriff Hayden were pleading for action to limit truck traffic in the 199th Street corridor. But those actions, including but not limited to a resolution by Commissioner O'Hara to designate Homestead as the semi-truck exit off of I-35, were rejected by a majority of this board. Now, 2.5 years later, some action has been taken to limit truck traffic on 199th Street. So a majority of this board allowed a dangerous situation to persist for 2.5 years with no meaningful action. Commissioner O'Hara's resolution made much more common sense than what is presented. You direct truckers with signage to the appropriate exit before they get to the rural roads. That was her resolution. This board's solution of no truck signs on rural roads doesn't solve the problem. First-time truckers will still drive to those streets and then face a dilemma. No shoulders, no turnarounds. What do I do? Where do I drive to get off these dangerous, narrow roads? Chairman Kelly, I know you don't do prudent common sense decision-making at this board level. Your priorities are agenda items, developer giveaways, and growing the bureaucracy. The fact that citizens have had to deal with a dangerous situation for almost 900 days after the issue was raised by Commissioner O'Hara and Sheriff Hayden isn't that big of a deal. Citizens need to get used to being second-class citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Jeff Harkness.
Jeff Harkness, Overland Park, Chairman, Commissioners. Business is the mechanism that keeps the arts and science flowing through academia and industries. AI is such. Now, I've always considered business owners, financial planners, and accountants to be tradespeople. Adding to that age-old question of is business a science, is it an art, or both, or is it just a trade? The truth being told, the true rivalry between all our colleges and universities over the years, who's had the best business school. The time may have come to share the true glory with, say, teachers' colleges that would require a minor in business administration to graduate. There is a common sense, business-minded solution to all socioeconomic challenges around the world. As we rebuild our nation's manufacturing base and the middle class through blue-collar jobs, we may have to rebalance our middle management white-collar workforce. Adapting to these changes in social, occupational education changes, the Generation Z and the Alpha and Beta generation will face many challenges. In 2030, the Beta generation will begin the K-12 school system. By 2035, it's expected they will have a population of over 2 billion people. Recently, the kings of England and the Vatican met after a 500-year period. It would seem that the rediscovery of American Christianity is on the horizon. It might be time to rename the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of the Americas. It would seem appropriate at this time, and maybe North America to become a sister continent of South America. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, I believe is Clay Smith. Mr. Smith.
Good morning, Chair, Commissioners. My name is Clay Smith. I live in Johnson County, and I'm here on behalf of the professional paramedics of Johnson County. I want to address some common concerns and concerns that I've already heard, that recognizing our union would increase costs to the county. In reality, the evidence shows the opposite. Public safety unions don't inflate budgets, they stabilize them. When employees have a seat at the table, turnover drops, recruitment improves, and training investments actually stay in the county. Replacing a single paramedic costs tens of thousands of dollars in onboarding, gear, overtime coverage, and education. If recognition reduces that turnover by even a few positions each year, it saves far more than any adjustment ever could. Unions also improve safety. Departments with joint labor management safety committees report fewer on-duty injuries and worker comp claims, saving hundreds of thousands of dollars annually. And by negotiating predictable pay tables, or pay structures, unions prevent the budget spikes caused by years of stagnation and mid-cycle market fixes. Union recognition doesn't add bureaucracy, it creates accountability and communication. It ensures that people doing the work are part of the solution and not an afterthought in it. When labor and management collaborate, costs become more predictable, morale improves, and service to the public gets stronger. That's not a liability, that's good government. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe that's all the registered public comments that we have for this morning. I thank you, everybody, for your comments. At this time, we will move to the business session as there are no notes from the record this morning. The consent agenda as printed has been requested to be amended. So items 8 and 9 will be removed from the consent agenda. Therefore, I will ask if there's a motion to adopt the consent agenda as amended. Commissioner Hanslick?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move to adopt the consent agenda as amended.
Alan Brand, second.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Hanslick for the motion and Commissioner Ashcraft, or Commissioner Allen Brand for the second. At this time, I'd ask the clerk to call the roll.
Commissioner Fest,
Aye.
Commissioner Myers,
Myers, aye.
Commissioner Brewer,
Brewer, aye.
Commissioner Hanslick,
Hanslick, aye.
Commissioner Ashcraft,
Yes.
Commissioner Allen Brand,
Alan Brand, aye.
Chairman Kelly.
Aye, that's 7 votes in favor and none against. Is that consistent with your count?
It is.
Very good. Then we'll go to what's item number 8 on your agenda. Item number 8 is the consideration of Dr. Diane Mahoney, her appointment to the Johnson County Community Corrections Advisory Board. This follows a reorganization and reestablishment of the CCAB. Commissioner Ashcraft, it's your appointment. Any comments or questions as you have requested this item be discussed this morning?
Thank you, Mr. Does this work?
Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, for the summary. I also wanted to take a moment of privilege and point out that Dr. Mahoney is actually the first person that I've ever met who is a double doctor. She has a doctorate as a nurse practitioner, a clinical doctorate, but she also has a doctorate in philosophy for academic research. So her qualifications are stellar, And I asked her why she was interested in this appointment, and her response was almost inspiring. Her point was that she is a lifelong learner, and this is an area of interest that she wants to learn about and contribute her expertise to. So I wanted to thank her for applying and being considered, and I'm happy to put her name forward.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Allenbrand?
Chair, if Commissioner Ashcraft doesn't have anything else, I can make a motion.
Go ahead then.
Thank you. I move that the Board of County Commissioners approve Resolution Number 152-25, appointing the 5th District Commissioner's nominee, Dr. Diane Mahoney, to the Community Corrections Advisory Board.
Is there a second?
Second.
So moved by Commissioner Allenbrand, seconded by Commissioner Ashcraft. Seeing no further questions at this time, will the clerk call the roll, please?
Commissioner Fast,
Aye.
Commissioner Myers,
Myers, aye.
Commissioner Brewer,
Brewer, aye.
Commissioner Hanslick,
Hanslick, aye.
Commissioner Ashcraft,
Yes.
Commissioner Allenbrand,
Allenbrand, aye.
Chairman Kelly.
Aye, that's 7 in favor and none against. Is that consistent with your count?
It is.
Very good. We'll move on then to what was on your agenda as item number 9. This is a resolution appointing the 3rd District Commissioner's nominee, John A. Tan, to the Johnson County Board of Code Review. This appointment comes after the reorganization and reestablishment of the Board of Code Review to fill a vacancy. John Tan is I believe, a certified master electrician, and therefore fills the requirement of the vacancy on that Board of Code Review. Commissioner Ashcraft, you've asked this item be discussed. Any further questions or comments at this time?
No, Mr. Chairman, your summary was spot on, and I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Commissioner Brewer, this is your appointment. Would you like care to address it?
Yep, I'd love to make a motion when the time is appropriate. I'll just note that the previous appointee did a wonderful job, but was retiring, and although still had the wonderful knowledge and understanding, was no longer going to maintain licensure, so that's what prompted the change in the appointment.
Very good. Well, I don't see any further questions at this time, so if you'd like to make the motion, please go ahead.
I move the Board of County Commissioners approve Resolution Number 153-25, appointing 3rd District Commissioner nominee John A. Tan to the Board of Code Review.
Allenbrand, second.
So moved by Commissioner Brewer and seconded by Commissioner Allenbrand. Not seeing further questions or comments on this item, would the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Fast,
Aye.
Commissioner Myers,
Myers, aye.
Commissioner Brewer,
Brewer, aye.
Commissioner Hanslick,
Hanslick, aye.
Commissioner Ashcraft,
Yes.
Commissioner Allenbrand,
Allenbrand, aye.
Chairman Kelly.
Aye. We have 7 votes in favor and none against. Is that consistent with your count?
It is.
Very good. We'll move on at this time to your regularly scheduled action agenda, starting with item 10. These are the October 16th, 2025 business session minutes. Commissioner Allenbrand and I will abstain from this vote, but I will ask if there's any questions or comments regarding those October 16th minutes. If not, is there a motion to approve? Commissioner Hanslick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move to approve the October 16th, 2025 business session minutes.
Brewer, second.
Moved by Commissioner Hanslick, seconded by Commissioner Brewer. Seeing no further discussion at this time, would the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Fast,
Aye.
Commissioner Myers,
Myers, aye.
Commissioner Brewer,
Brewer, aye.
Commissioner Hanslick,
Hanslick, aye.
Commissioner Ashcraft,
Yes.
Commissioner Allenbrand,
Abstain.
Chairman Kelly.
I abstain as well, but I do note that there are 5 votes in favor, none against, 2 abstentions. Is that consistent with your count?
It is.
Very good. Well, then we'll move on at this time to item number 11. It's resolution number WD 25-033. At this time, I'm going to open a public hearing to consider authorizing funds for the construction phase of the Mill Creek Regional Wastewater Treatment Facility Influent Pump Station Improvement Project. Ms. Pekarik, thank you for your report on this item on agenda review last week. Is there any further report that you'd like to provide at this time?
For the request for funding, I don't have any additional information. I'll provide some additional clarifications when we get to the contract award.
Very good. Thank you very much. This is a public hearing. Therefore, anybody who wishes to discuss the authorization of funds for the construction phase of the Mill Creek Regional Wastewater Treatment Facility Influent Pump Station Improvement Project is welcome to do so at this time. All right, seeing none, I'll go ahead and close that public hearing and invite comments from the board on this item. Again, this item is the authorization of funds, not the contract. That'll be our next item we'll consider shortly. Well, if not, is there a motion, Commissioner Hanslick?
I move to adopt resolution number WD 25-033, authorizing funds for the construction phase of the Mill Creek Regional Wastewater Treatment Facility Influent Pump Station Improvements Project, MCR1, Contract 27, in an amount not to exceed $8,828,100.
Myers, second.
So moved by Commissioner Hanslick, seconded by Commissioner Myers. Seeing no further questions at this time, I'd ask the clerk to please call the roll on the motion.
Commissioner Fast,
Aye.
Commissioner Myers,
Myers, aye.
Commissioner Brewer,
Brewer, aye.
Commissioner Hanslick,
Hanslick, aye.
Commissioner Ashcraft,
Yes.
Commissioner Allenbrand,
Allenbrand, aye.
Chairman Kelly.
Aye. That is 7 votes in favor, none against. Is that consistent with your count?
It is.
Very good, thank you. Well, then we'll move on to a companion item. This is invitation for bid 2025-030. We'll consider the authorization of a contract with Mega KC to construct those Mill Creek wastewater treatment facility influent pump station improvement projects. Ms. Pekarik, thank you for your report on agenda review last week. And let me just take a moment to step back. Because I feel it need be said. The commentary last week, I think the questions from the board were ones that were inquisitive, and I think rightfully so, given the difference in cost from the contract with Mega KC to the engineer's estimate. But I want to make sure you understand and everybody understands the benefit that we're getting for this innovation and the partnerships that Johnson County Wastewater has been able to achieve through its contractual process. Saving more than $6 million for the people of Johnson County. All the risk is on the contractor, but being willing to work hard to find those third-party partnerships, saving those amounts for Johnson County, and really leading the industry is something Johnson County Wastewater does every week. I imagine you'll win an ACWA award for this. And the innovation that this process then leads to across the country benefits not just us here in Johnson County saving this money, but I think ratepayers across the country in seeing these innovative practices will save money for communities across America. So I want to make sure that you understand how proud we are of your team in continuing the innovation of your craft. It's similar to the innovations in craft that we see from all the departments in Johnson County, but want to make sure you recognize how great we think this is, and congratulations to you and your team.
Thank you very much, Chairman. I appreciate that. So,
Commissioner Allenbrand.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to echo that and how proud I am of you and your team. And I know it's not just you because you're going to say that, it's a team. And I am really hoping with as much growth that I have in my district that we continue with that regional, because I think it's important. You know, you hear a lot from other communities, you know, just the disconnect of, you know, where do I hook up here? Where do I hook up here? And having that, I think, is important. And so I really appreciate you being at the table to discuss that.
thank you.
We'll go to Commissioner Hanslick, then Commissioner Ashcraft.
Thank you. I wanted to say I appreciated the explanation last week of, even though it is shocking to see the difference in cost, your explanation was very well done, and I'm looking forward to seeing how this project turns out using a different method that may be a model for other places. So thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Ashcraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I may have some questions, but I think Ms. McCarrick wanted to make a presentation, so, or some
I was
elaboration.
just going to add some additional clarification. I think with some of the questions last week, I just wanted to provide that, you know, the difference, the approach that the contractor is bringing to this project is one that reduces the time that water has to be pumped around the influent pump station, which is where the project is taking place. Mill Creek, that particular station is receiving nearly 11 million gallons a day, so it's a pretty significant amount of water that has to be pumped around that station while the work in the wet well is being completed. And so this contractor's approach reduces the amount of time, thus reducing the risk and the cost associated with that work as part of it. So that really is why we saw these great bids, and I appreciate Chairman recognizing. I think this project will be something that others will be looking at across the country, or certainly in the region. And I have a feeling we'll be talking about this at conferences and papers and things like that. So I'll be happy to provide any additional clarification if anyone else has questions. So.
Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Mr. Chairman, I agree with your summary and commend staff for, I'm not going to say coming up with this, but bringing this forward.
Mm-hmm.
And I do hope it works out as planned, and it looks like it looks like it's an opportunity that the county has little to no risk. We should get the product that we want. So good for you. The question I had is, I'm just wondering, what do we do, or our consulting engineer do to encourage other contractors to think outside of the box, not necessarily strictly on a set of specifications, but on obtaining the outcomes we want within the price and at the quality we want? Is there anything that we do or could do differently to encourage that? Because in this case, it's potentially a real bonanza.
Yeah, correct. And this is probably a unique example of that. I actually will pat Johnson County on the back. I think there are a lot of things that we already do. Just our procurement process. For example, when we're doing bid projects like this, we are bringing in contractors for a pre-bid conference so that they can talk through the project, they can see the project, and be able to think about it. Johnson County Wastewater, as you know, we talk about our integrated plan a lot. We have a website dedicated to that program where contractors can see what projects are coming up and when we expect to be constructing them. We're also presenting our integrated plan at various events annually, whether it's the Underground Contractors event at NUCA, or whether we're at conferences. We're intentionally going out to the vendor community and talking about the projects we have coming up so they can be thinking about how they might approach a particular project. So I think there are a lot of opportunities that contractors have to be able to come up with these kinds of innovative approaches that benefits our ratepayers.
Thank you.
Commissioner Myers?
Thank you, Chair. I too, I'm excited about the award of this bid, and I have a motion when you're ready.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Brewer?
Yes, so you're going to get lots of accolades. And I thought the discussion last week was very thorough and really got to the root of any of the questions or concerns we had because of the variance in the cost and because of the new technology and where the risk is at. Two things I just wanted to highlight. One is I appreciate the additional step that wastewater takes in bringing in CDM to evaluate the bids. And in the public document that's a part of the packet today, it talks about the fact that that multiple meetings were held. So obviously, this was something that a lot of evaluation was done before recommendation for proceeding. And just an overview comment. I appreciate that you do pre-bid meetings. I find that the more intentionality we can have upstream on a project in allowing space for that discussion to happen with any potential bidders, being very intentional in the RFP process and making sure the RFP itself is very complete and to the point. That's what leads to a good result when you eventually choose a contractor. And those are all best practices, and I just want to underscore that intentional planning is why we see good results on the backside. So thank you very much.
Everybody's now had an opportunity to speak on the item, so Commissioner Myers, how about that motion, please?
Thank you, Chair. I move to authorize a contract with Mega KC Corporation to construct the Mill Creek Regional Wastewater Treatment Facility Influent Pump Station Improvements Project, MCR 1-Contract 27, in the amount of $6,892,515 per IFB number 2025-030.
Alan Brand, second.
So moved by Commissioner Myers, seconded by Commissioner Allen Brand. I'm not seeing any further questions at this time, so would the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Fast,
Aye.
Commissioner Myers,
Myers, aye.
Commissioner Brewer,
Brewer, aye.
Commissioner Hanslick,
Hanslick, aye.
Commissioner Ashcraft,
Yes.
Commissioner Allen Brand,
Alan Brand, aye.
Chairman Kelly.
Aye, that's 7 in favor, none against. Is that consistent with your count?
It is.
Very good. Thank you very much, Ms. Bucieric. We'll move on at this time to item 13 on your agenda. It's resolution number 148-25. This is considering the Bonessa Trust application for real property disaster relief. Mr. Franzen is here to discuss the item. Mr. Franzen, thank you for your presentation last week at Agenda Review. Is anything further you'd like us to provide before we consider the item?
Absolutely. Good morning, Chairman Kelly and Commissioners. Tom Franzen with Treasury Taxation and Vehicles Department, back with you again to discuss the agenda item that we started last week. First, Chairman Kelly, before we get into some of the changes, I wanted to talk about some of the information we discussed and some follow-up that you had asked me to do. First, I believe last week at this time, we did not have pictures of the fire, the application, or the estimates for repair included in your packet. I believe those were forwarded to you late last week, so hopefully you've all had a chance to review those. Next, there were a couple of items you asked me to provide follow-up on. First, to follow up with the impacted jurisdictions from the Bonessa claim and get feedback regarding their thoughts on the policy impacts of abating taxes for this type of a loss. We have followed up with all the jurisdictions. We heard back from the majority. They were fine with it. We did not hear back from Blue Valley Recreation Commission. So at this point, I think it's fair for the board to presume that everyone is okay with this approach. You also asked me to look into further who actually determines the percent of value loss in a fire to determine if the definition and statute of substantially destroyed was being met. After conversations with Chief Maxton and Fire Administrator Francis, it appears that insurance companies are the last say with regards to that percentage loss. So that's the organizations we would look to see if the statute is being met. And then third, with regard to fire loss data, again, we've reached out to fire district officials and wanted to really better understand the data. The data that Fire Administrator Francis pulled together from all of the fire chiefs was much appreciated, but the data was really hard to understand given the way the data has been captured. Really can't discern from that specifically the number of dwellings and total losses. It's buried within all of the data. So staff took a look at that and really wasn't able to draw any conclusions or to provide the context that I had hoped to provide to the board today. With that, Fire Administrator Francis is here if the board does want to delve into the data any further. And Mr. Chairman, unless there's any questions on that, I'm happy to walk through the rest of the changes to the briefing sheet.
Thank you very much. Why don't you walk through those changes real quick, continue the report, we'll hear a public comment, and then have an opportunity for discussion.
Okay. All right, so with that, the staff since last Thursday has taken time to go ahead and really provide the board with kind of a framework with regards to how to move forward with this request and any subsequent requests we might receive. In your updated briefing sheet, you'll note that we added information in the funding overview section that does provide that framework, and I just wanted to take a few minutes to kind of step through that and give the board a chance to understand that and maybe ask any questions around what staff is proposing. The first bullet you'll note in there talks about that any submission or application should be timely. In other words, within the year that it actually occurred. The second bullet outlines required documentation that must be submitted with the application, and namely that would be a written estimate of the repairs by a licensed contractor or construction engineer, proof of ownership of the property, and photos of the damage that occurred. The third bullet notes if we have concerns with the initially submitted material that we may require additional supporting documentation such as a fire investigation report or an insurance claim or inspection report. The fourth bullet notes the applicant must not have had any delinquent real or personal property taxes at the time of the application. The fifth bullet notes the property in the application must not currently be in a foreclosure lawsuit with the county. The sixth bullet notes that all taxing authorities impacted in the claim must not object to providing that relief. Seventh bullet talks about requiring a certification that the property owner is not receiving reimbursement from some other source for the property tax amounts being considered for abatement. The eighth bullet notes that the cause of the loss must not be related to human actions such as vandalism or arson or negligence of any type. And then finally, the ninth bullet notes the framework reserves the right for the board to modify this criteria at any time, which also would include setting any limits on the amount of the relief that's provided. Mr. Chairman, in addition to those proposed bullets, obviously, the board may want to add to that, modify any of those. Obviously, staff is looking for direction to go ahead and take that direction today and then bring back a policy with a little more meat to it at a subsequent date for the board's approval. And then with that, I'd like to thank staff for the work they've done on this. Obviously, we talked about last week how this is a new process that we're experiencing, and so they've done a lot of great research quickly trying to understand it. Our legal staff's been very helpful, helping us understand the statute and with our review. And then in addition to that, I'd like to thank Fire Administrator Chief Francis and Fire Chief Maxton for their conversations last week and the work they did on short notice to pull the data together. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you have, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, Mr. Franzen. I'm going to ask that you step aside just briefly and ask the clerk to prepare us to receive a public comment on this item. All right, and we'll invite Jeff Harkness to discuss it.
Jeff Harkness, Overland Park, Chairman, Commissioners. As we have a dual system with our tax relief program, are we going to see this type of stuff with this fire relief, whatever you want to call it? I'm just concerned, we got over half of my property tax bills goes to our schools. Maybe the Blue Valley School District can pick up on this. And as we've created basically little mini republics down in our school districts and our HOAs now that they have the municipal court in charge of mental health, I think we need to start looking at maybe putting more of these community services down on our cities and localities. Thanks.
Thank you very much. We'll welcome back Mr. Franzen for questions and comments. And Mr. Franzen, thank you for the additional work you've done in the last week, given this is a unique item and the first time the board's seen it. I appreciate the lengths that you, Mr. Francis, Chief Maxon, and others went to get some additional information for our consideration. To that extent, thank you for speaking with the other jurisdictions that otherwise would benefit from this homeowner's property taxes. So when you give the rebate, that doesn't include just the Johnson County portion of the property taxes. We, as Johnson County TM, are not taking on this entire loss. It's the other amounts that otherwise would go to the other jurisdictions. Am I correct?
That is correct. You have the authority to rebate or credit the full amount of the taxes, but it's not just county portion of the property tax bill. As you mentioned, it's other jurisdictions that would be impacted as well.
And thank you very much for that clarification. And as part of the bullet points for the eligibility criteria, the conversation with these jurisdictions is part of the considered process. So I appreciate you doing that. In this case, the Blue Valley School District. One technical question, then I open it up to my colleagues for additional questions. I believe it's the seventh bullet point. You note certification that no duplicate reimbursement or subrogation of property taxes from insurance or other sources. Is that certification an attestation from the homeowner? Is it statement from the insurance company? Who certifies that?
Staff anticipates that being an attestation from the homeowner because they would be the one that would be receiving those funds from any other source. We just wanted to really put that safeguard in there to know that if there was some other entity that was reimbursing them, that the county was not going to then obviously double up that.
Would there be communication from the insurance company? You note the determination of the term for substantially destroyed ultimately comes from that insurance company. So do we get that communication from the insurance company? And if so, could that also include a certification of alternative sources of funding?
Chairman, that's a great point. I think it probably would make sense if we're going to go to length to document any type of application to the board. We could ask for that whatever, if it is an insured dwelling, we could ask for them to certify that with something on insurance company letterhead or something to do with any type of claim and adjustment that they may be receiving. We could ask for that documentation as well.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Hanslick, I believe you were first.
Yes, thank you. Well, first of all, thank you, Mr. Franzen, for all our many discussions this past week on this item. First of all, I just want to say I don't have any issue with the application coming before us for this intention, but I do have concerns that there's a lot of unknowns that that could potentially have implications for the future. You and I had talked about that we don't really know how many house fires happen each year in Johnson County that would meet the criteria for substantial destruction, whatever those words were. I showed you, I even went on ChatGPT and tried to find it, and it couldn't give me an answer. One of the major concerns I have, though, as you and I discussed, under this state statute, and I actually went to the actual statute, in 2022, this was expanded to include commercial properties. And I think that's something we need to think about. Will our guidelines include that we will accept applications from commercial properties? I think that's a whole different situation than residential. And I would be much more comfortable if we would have something in those guidelines that either that says this only applies to residential properties or it applies to any property, because I think we could go down a path that we may not have intended by taking this action. So that is a big question I have is the commercial property. The other thing, so that's the first thing. Second thing is I'd like to see in those guidelines something that the applicant has to attest that they intend to restore, repair, rebuild that property to its purpose as a homestead. I'd hate to see a house burn down, someone takes the money and runs, and the house is sitting there without being repaired. So that would be my second concern. But primarily, do we want this to cover commercial property or just residential property?
Thank you, Commissioner Hanslick. I believe Commissioner Brewer was next, and Commissioner Ashcraft.
Commissioner Hanslick, I appreciate your observations, especially regarding about how encompassing we want this new policy to be, because my understanding in agenda review last week is within the keeping of statute, how the county decides to respond to this is kind of is in our purview as far as rebating the taxes. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so just as a side note, I really appreciate the observation of maybe, since this is a newer experience for us, to to narrow the scope to residential. That way we could have maybe a different or proactive conversation about what we would want to do in the scope of commercial. But my question is around bullet 4. Property applicant must have no delinquent real property tax or personal property taxes at the time of application. Knowing that from time to time, there may be a property tax process that's in dispute, or there's some change or some issue, I'm wondering, does this contemplate the ability of the residential homeowner to become current in any outstanding taxes and still be then considered for this application? Or is it is this interpretation of bullet 4, we're going to look at the tax roll, if they're delinquent for whatever reason, that automatically removes them from being eligible for this application?
So thank you for the question, Commissioner. Staff's expectation here was really trying to address those property owners that are delinquent historically, right? They don't pay their property taxes on time, and they may have a number of years outstanding. It was really designed to go ahead and address that type of situation. For the one-offs where somebody might be in an appeal process, if they've paid their taxes under protest, not an issue, but obviously if they're appealing that and it's going to BOTA, that's a different situation. We could write language in the policy itself that specifically calls out those and allows those to go through, but obviously at the will of the board, we can structure that policy however you like.
Yes, my desire, my thoughts on this is to have that bullet read in some fashion so that the individual is allowed to cure an issue that may be outstanding through whatever process, and then still make application. But if they're not going to cure the issue, then that delinquency holds, and then that becomes, one of the things that disallows the application. That would be where my thoughts are at.
Okay.
Thank you.
And just to clarify on that point, if a bill is outstanding and not yet due, they're not delinquent.
Correct.
Right, and if they are in appeal or have paid under protest or in that process, they are not considered delinquent.
Correct.
Okay. Commissioner Ashcraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Franson, I would offer, just first blush, you and your staff did a yeoman's job of covering the salient points. I think it was a good review, and I look forward to the policy discussion on this. Commissioner Hanslick's question is pertinent. It's not just commercial, potentially industrial, even farm. I mean, how are we going to define it? And I look forward to a vibrant debate because as a taxpayer, I pay my taxes on a certain value and expectation of my property, and if that value disappears, then I'd like to have my money back, regardless of if it's an industry or a warehouse or a home. So I hope we can have a debate about that before we summarily restrict our intent at this point.
Well, I'm happy to continue that discussion now, and I'll come back to Commissioner Hanslick next. To your point, Commissioner Hanslick, regarding intent for restoration, I think that's a good idea. I'm fine with that. If we are going to abate taxes for a period of time on the property, there should be the intent that the property is restored to its former level. As to commercial property, though, I think that's worthy of a continued discussion. When we think about the investments that Johnson Countyans make in starting a business in our community, and for many, that could be a lifetime investment into a small commercial property, a bookstore, a coffee shop, or an industrial space. Losing that livelihood has significant impacts, and for the period of time during restoration, they will not be able to, Commissioner Ashcraft's point, utilize that property for that livelihood. And the commercial rate of taxation is a larger hit to that livelihood compared to the rate for residential taxation. Before we understand the potential impacts to Johnson County and understanding the number of fires and the improvements that have been made in fire and emergency services and building construction makes me think that we won't see a lot of these over time. I don't want to necessarily artificially restrict our ability to address a business and a family and a livelihood that may have been significantly affected or substantially destroyed based on a casualty, and not consider the impacts that taxation on a property that they will not be able to utilize for the period would have on that Johnson County family. So while I completely understand the intent of supporting our homeowners, I don't know that my policy would be so restrictive until we understand the amount of time and the resource that it would take to address all of the applications that we would necessarily see over time. So Commissioner Hanslick, I said I'd give you the next comment.
Yes, thank you. First of all, I was actually quite surprised that the state legislature have this law, because I'm thinking of some of the smaller communities in Kansas. Their property tax base is, for example, the Walmart in their community. If that would burn down and they would abate the taxes, that could have huge impacts on their community. So I was just surprised. I would have liked to have known the genesis of the law. My thoughts are twofold. One is we either direct staff to adopt the proposed eligibility criteria, and at this time restrict it to these guidelines are for residential property, and then also include the requirement that the applicant intends to restore or rebuild the property to its purpose as a homestead, and then that we have ongoing conversations about the commercial property. Otherwise, my recommendation would be to table this till next week when we have more specific guidelines, if we are going to include commercial property, because I'm not comfortable. My concern is that we will set a precedent that we cannot take back. And it's not about this particular situation, it's about what will be the potential unintended consequences going forward.
Commissioner Ashcraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple of points, Mr. Chairman. We can still act on this item separate from the policy discussion, can't we?
If that's the will of the board.
Okay, so next question, Mr. Franzen, if a natural disaster, a tornado, God forbid, were to come through and destroy a home or a business, and it took multiple years for the owner to do something with the property, would we continue to tax them at the rate that they originally were taxed upon? And then how do we assess that value increase or decrease over time?
So that's a good question, Commissioner Ashcraft. I think it's important to remember in the scenario you just described, if a tornado would come through and wipe out a number of parcels.
Or just one?
Or just one. So understanding that, so for that first year, this is what the statute's intended to address, it would go ahead and provide relief for that year. The second year, I would imagine the appraiser's office would now have the value reduced to whatever is left, so we don't have that compounding issue of multiple years. Then that issue's been addressed, and then you're focused on, do we abate the taxes that were due from that first year?
Okay, thank you. And finally, Mr. Chairman, for me, it gets a little mushy because there are some number of homeowners who also have businesses within their homes. sometimes they're storefront businesses, sometimes they're home office. How do we segment that out? And that's why I would like to have a policy discussion comprehensively on all the intricacies.
Staff, Ms. Trent.
Yes, Peg Trent, Chief Counsel. Chair and Commissioners, in the briefing sheet before you right now is just for the homestead.
Correct.
We aren't discussing the commercial potential agriculture, and at a later date, staff will review that upon your recommendation and report back what that would entail for the policy. But right now, in order to proceed with this particular applicant, staff put together some high-level criteria in order to show some basis. This is not the final criteria that staff will bring back for policy, and that's why we put it in the briefing sheet, so that would give you an understanding when we're looking at precedent that this was the minimum, at least, that we would be bringing forward. There will be other restrictions, as noted in the briefing sheet and what you've outlined. So the commission does have the ability to proceed today on this applicant, and we did make sure that we put that in the briefing sheet for future if someone was to come forward.
Thank you very much, Ms. Trent. Commissioner Brewer.
Yes, I appreciate that clarification. So my understanding is we don't need to amend anything right now. We don't need to amend anything right now to exclusively say homestead, because the briefing sheet, how it's laid out, leads us to this is really only germane to homestead at this point in time. Is that correct, Ms. Trent?
Chair and Commissioner Brewer, that is correct. You are limited right now to this homestead and just to this. We will bring back at a later date more specifics on the other matters.
Thank you. Then the question that I had for Commissioner Hanslick and for Chair, in the discussion about the suggested addition of making sure that there's an understanding, the expectation is that the homeowner is restoring the homestead, either rebuilding or restoring. That could have a lot of interpretation, so I want to make sure I'm understanding it correctly. I could interpret that the property has to be restored to a level that a future home could be built on it, meaning like if there's a basement, just the property itself has to be restored so it is a usable, sellable lot. It could be that a home has to be built on it by the homeowner who's receiving the relief, or it could be that the home that has to be on it has to be of similar size and scope as what was previously on it. So myself, as I think in putting on the homeowner's hat, I don't know in somebody's circumstance if they had a substantial home, it was completely destroyed by fire, they're asking for property tax relief, which is, as to borrow Commissioner Ashcraft's term, a de minimis amount of what the total outlay may look like, what their capacity is to rebuild same, to rebuild less, or to rebuild at all. So I just want to understand, do we want to have a minimum standard that a homestead property, if eligible for this, has to bring that property back to a minimum standard as a lot that can be built on, or other levels of standards? So that's what I'm looking to have understood.
Ms. Trent.
Chair and Commissioner Brewer and Commissioners, if it is your desire, kind of dovetailing on Commissioner Brewer, there would need to be making this subject, this motion to amend subject to some type of restoration. The slippery slope on this is we're in various tax years that may take several years. We don't know at this point. Staff would have to investigate that and the implications of that requirement. I think staff was very methodical in what they brought forward to make sure that this was something, that would be a minimum amount. But putting that criteria on that right now without more further research may be a slippery slope we're going down without knowing the implication in future tax years, when that would occur, what happens if it doesn't, do we go back? There's all of this enforcement issues too, and that restriction.
Thank you very much, Ms. Trent. And just for the record, my agreement with Commissioner Hanslick on this suggestion was for a future policy discussion, not for this individual applicant. Commissioner Commissioner Allen Brand, Commissioner Myers. I'm looking at my list here, buddy.
Thank you.
You missed one meeting, and guess what?
I know, thank you, Chair. Well, I mean, so my understanding is that I think everybody seems to be comfortable with what we're voting on today, and I was going to give you a motion.
I'll come back to you for that. Thank you. But first, we need to hear from Commissioner Myers.
Thank you, Chair. I hit this hand situation and sorry, I hit the hand situation, and I don't know if we're doing that or if we're not doing that. But several people spoke more than once, and my hand was up for a while. And that's okay. I'm not upset. I'm just saying, I want to see how we're handling our hand raising and how that's working. I agree with a lot of comments that have been made. My belief is there's a lot of uniqueness in so many situations. We've already talked about that. I don't have a problem moving forward with this particular item, but these are rare items, so can we not just take them on by a case-by-case basis and continue to do that? I mean, this is the first one I've ever seen come before us, and I don't know, Commissioner Ashcraft, have you ever had one come before you since you've been on the commission?
No.
So it's rare, and so because of all the uniqueness that can happen, why can't we just continue, at least right now, on taking these on a case-by-case basis?
Commissioner Myers, I appreciate the point. It's well received, and I apologize for the time it took for you to be able to make that very salient point. I think because of the uniqueness of the item, it's rare because the statute has not been utilized by Johnson County before. I understand that we're going to consider this one with Commissioner Allen Brand's motion here in a second for its own merits. I do think it warrants at least some policy discussion. I understand that anytime we spend or have staff spend on a policy is an opportunity cost for another policy or another matter that we won't be able to undertake. I think given the potential notoriety of this, that this won't be the last one that we see. And therefore, at least having a standard guideline would be helpful. I'm not saying that staff needs to drop everything and consider this its top priority to get this policy in front of us since we have many other things to do. But I do feel at least having a baseline for consideration for the future would be good. Understanding that we don't need to be writing the Magna Carta on it. But I do think it's worthy of continuing the discussion at an appropriate time, and then also allowing us the flexibility to handle these on a case-by-case basis. Commissioner Allen Brand, how about that motion, please?
Thank you, Chair, and I agree with you on that because I always have a little bit of caution of over-regulating something, so I do like Commissioner Myers' comment. I move to adopt resolution number 148-25 approving the Bonzada Trust application for real property disaster relief and direct the county clerk and county treasurer to abate the 2025 real property taxes for the homestead located on property R 185378 located at 11004 West 141st Street in Overland Park due to the homestead being destroyed by fire on January the 26th, 2025.
Brewer, second.
So moved by Commissioner Allen Brand, seconded by Commissioner Brewer. Commissioner Hanslick, then Ashcraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to make an amendment to that motion to include at the end, and direct staff to develop and present draft guidelines and eligibility criteria related to this state statute on these issues.
An amendment's been made. Is there a second at this time?
I second the amendment.
The amendment's been made and seconded, so questions regarding the amendment. To staff, do you understand the amendment? And Commissioner Brewer, would you like to address the amendment? Sorry, Commissioner Ashcraft, but thank you, Commissioner Brewer.
Just a friendly amendment to the amendment. Can we stipulate that, I'm thinking that the statute you're referencing is KSA 79-1630, it's 13? Is that because you
Yes.
noted in the
Yeah.
amendment that you, in keeping with state statute, I just wanted the amendment to note the state statute, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Ashcraft, do you have a question regarding the amendment?
Yes, sir. I'm not sure the amendment is needed, but I will support it. I think staff understands the implications of the discussion, and Mr. Chairman, to your prior point, especially since we have a member of the media watching, if this becomes even a little bit of an interest in wider publication, it could draw significant interest, both in terms of its breadth, but also its depth. So I'm supportive of this, and I do respect Mr. Myers' position of waiting, and I don't disagree, but I think having staff start on this methodically would be beneficial.
Very good. Commissioner Brewer, do you, another question on the amendment?
Yes, yes. I am also supportive of the amendment. This was a property that is in District 3, and I know part of working with Treasury and Taxation is because this was something that was unprecedented, so understanding a process and a path forward, that's where I appreciate at some level having some guidelines, because then that allows us to be able to communicate expectations to the resident. And so when you're going through something newer, as Mr. Franzen had already shared with us, and being a part of that process, I appreciate having a little bit more depth so that when we're talking with a resident, we have a little bit more to give them guidance on what's needed. So those are my thoughts on supporting the amendment offered by Commissioner Hanslick.
Very good. Well, seeing no further questions on the amendment, would the clerk call the roll on the amendment, please?
Commissioner Fast.
Aye.
Commissioner Myers.
Myers, aye.
Commissioner Brewer.
Brewer, aye.
Commissioner Hanslick.
Hanslick, aye.
Commissioner Ashcraft.
Yes.
Commissioner Allenbrand.
Allenbrand, aye.
Chairman Kelly.
Yes, it's 7 in favor, 9 against. Is that consistent with your count?
It is.
And now to the motion as amended. Commissioner Myers, I'm sorry, you were clicking the microphone. I see no further questions at this time. Can we call the roll on the motion as amended, please?
Commissioner Fast.
Aye.
Commissioner Myers.
Myers, aye.
Commissioner Brewer.
Brewer, aye.
Commissioner Hanslick.
Hanslick, aye.
Commissioner Allenbrand.
Allenbrand, aye.
Commissioner Ashcraft.
Yes.
Chairman Kelly.
Aye, that's 7 in favor, 9 against. Is that consistent with your count?
It is.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Franzen.
Thank you.
All right. Back to the agenda du jour. We are now moving on to item number 14. This is a lease agreement with the Northwest Consolidated Fire District for the Sunflower Fire Station. Kyle Heltney from Facilities is here on this item. Mr. Heltney, thank you for your report on agenda review. Anything further that you wanted to discuss at this time?
First off, good morning, Chair and Commissioners. I have nothing new to report at this time and would be happy to answer any questions.
Well, thank you very much for you and your team. An exciting moment that this facility is now ready for lease. And I appreciate and comfortable with the structure because it being the inverse of our contracts that have been diligently prepared when we co-locate MedAct with various fire districts. So I'm comfortable with the language and supportive thereof. Questions and comments from the board? Commissioner Allenbrand, let's start with you.
And I did push my button, so.
I see it.
I know. I want to thank the entire team for all the work that they've done, also working with the City of DeSoto and the Northwest Consolidated Fire Department, and I'm really looking forward. We have kind of a planned, kind of a ribbon-cutting open house in December, so I'm anxious to see the time frame on that, and currently, I just really appreciate all the work, and I have a motion, Chair, when you're ready.
We'll come back to you for that motion, but we'll go to Commissioner Ashcraft next.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Hiltney, this is a unique circumstance, I believe. Do we have any other fire stations that the county has built and is currently leasing to fire departments in the county?
Commissioner Ashcraft, I'm not able to answer that question. I don't have that history with me. I may look to the room here to see if there's anyone that could assist me with that.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the specific question.
Mr. Franzen, Director Franzen.
For instance.
Franzen. Well, Commissioner Ashcraft, I've messed that one up. Chief Francis, my question was, this appears to be a unique circumstance. Do we have any other fire stations that we have built and are used by other fire departments?
The only location that I can think of was the station the county built at New Century, and which that building is now owned by Fire District 1, but for a period of time, the county leased that back to Fire District Number 1. I know of no other facilities where an arrangement like this has occurred.
And that was under the direction of the FAA in terms of fire service management?
I know they were involved with that, but I wasn't involved in that, so I'm not exactly sure of the specifics.
My recollection, which could be wrong, was that had been a county-owned structure, but the FAA had a rule change. I don't know if Mr. Johnson is here, or Mr. Otto may know.
Otto may be able to answer.
Understood. We're getting a little afield from the motion, or the issue du jour.
We are, Mr. Chairman. I'll withdraw the question, and I apologize. The point that I'm struggling with, Mr. Chairman, is when this came forward in 2021 and then acted upon in 2022, I had reservations about using general tax funds for a specific fire district. And while I commend the work of staff, I think this lease agreement is well tailored for its intent. I am not comfortable with the fact that the county has built a fire station for another political subdivision that has that responsibility. And so I'm weighing that and trying to understand the compelling reason at this point for me to support this.
Well, thank you. I'll allow Commissioner Brewer to go next, but I'll have some thoughts.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. My question and I just want to reaffirm my understanding from the discussion on this topic at agenda review. So this is kind of the reverse of what we have been doing as far as us as a county with MedAct paying lease agreements to fire stations to house MedAct personnel within fire stations, correct?
That is correct.
And so one of the questions that Commissioner Ashcraft had, and I appreciate the question, is the source of funding, I believe, coming out of general fund to this fire district. The lease payments that are coming in from the fire district on the building, where do those payments then go back to? Do they go back to the source of where the funds came?
Good question. So the lease payments or the cost recovery payments that will come back to the county is to offset the cost to maintain and operate the facility.
Okay, so there's not a cost recovery per se on the construction of the building itself.
Not through this lease, correct?
Ms. Trent?
Yeah, thank you.
Chair and Commissioners, there is a clause within the lease that if this fire station was to transfer into the future, there is the recoupment of those costs from whoever would ultimately secure it or purchase it. So there is a clause to allow for that and for that to come back to the county for those costs to recover.
Thank you, I appreciate that. And I think Mr. Norris has additional information.
I just want to clarify something. There's been a reference to the general fund twice. That's not the funding source for this. This was CSF funds. So
Thank you very much for that
Thank you.
clarification. And to the original point, Commissioner Ashcraft, whether or not somebody had supported the original use of CSF for the construction of the fire station and matching funds with a private entity who did come to the area in which the fire station is built. I was not on the board originally when that contemplation happened, but in subsequent votes have supported and do support the creation of a fire station in an area of significant economic development that is already paying dividends for our community and having the requisite fire service to welcome that development is appropriate. And at this time, now being that the fire station has been constructed, the lease payment, which would assist in the ongoing, offsetting of costs that otherwise would be for the building owner, which is Johnson County, is prudent fiscal management. Should this need to be transferred at a further time, there's further fiscal prudency in recouping the costs of the station. And so while I understand those who may not have supported the original outlay of funds from CSF for the station, I think the lease itself is prudent and something I definitely support. Commissioner Brewer.
So as we know, I was not on the commission at the time. So for my sake and the sake of other community members, could we just say what CSF stands for?
It's a countywide support fund.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Commissioner Allenbrand, did you have a motion?
Yes, Chair, and I believe you said that very well, because if you read the briefing sheet, it actually talks about the annexation and the property was donated by Ad Astra. So I think if you read that briefing sheet, it spells all that out. So again, I want to thank the staff for all the work that they've done on this. And with that, I move to approve a lease agreement with Northwest Consolidated Fire District to occupy the Sunflower Fire Station located at 35050 99th Street in DeSoto, Kansas.
Myers, second.
Moved by Commissioner Allenbrand, seconded by Commissioner Myers, Commissioner Ashcraft, and Commissioner Hanslick.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I respect and appreciate our differencing opinions on this, and I think you make a cogent observation. I think for me, though, there's more of a fundamental issue of the county's role in supporting jurisdictions that have responsibility on services, particularly those jurisdictions that have been subjected to revenue restrictions from incentives, specifically in this case Panasonic. Those were decisions that were thought out and made, but decisions that have implications for those taxpayers. And my lukewarm or lack of support, I should say, for this is because we are burdening taxpayers generally in the county for decisions within this taxing jurisdiction. So my vote will reflect that concern.
Commissioner Hanslick.
Thank you. Mr. Heltney, what would happen if everybody on this board voted against this lease agreement? I assume the fire station would continue to work, the county would continue to own it, but we would not be getting any funding to help with the maintenance and operation. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. So we'd kind of be cutting off our nose to spite our face in some ways. At least that's my interpretation.
I see Chief Counsel reaching for her microphone.
Sorry, just to clarify, Chair and Commissioners, keep in mind when this project came forward, there was a contribution by Panasonic for the building of this fire station. So there were matching funds in order for its construction. There is a development agreement, an agreement that was signed by the City of DeSoto, in which we received the monies, and we entered into an agreement with DeSoto for that fire station and the use of funds and matching. So there would be some, without looking into those agreements, some obligation to continue to maintain that, and it's for the citizens and safety surrounding that Panasonic plant.
Thank you.
Commissioner Ashcraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, since it was my nose that was being addressed, I just wanted to offer that this is not a zero-sum proposition. The lease agreement could be reconstructed that offered motivations or inducements by the fire district to actually purchase this facility in some planned way, rather than having it interminable where they are able to have this structure for basically the lease of operations, which is a rather small component of the overall value of the facility.
Well, the time is ripe for a discussion if there are, and we've had an agenda review, if there are amendments that you would like to make, but there is a motion pending at this time for the approval of the lease agreement from Commissioner Allenbrand. And seeing no further questions, then I'd ask the clerk to call the roll on the motion pending from Commissioner Allenbrand.
Commissioner Fast,
Aye.
Commissioner Myers,
Myers, aye.
Commissioner Brewer,
Brewer, aye.
Commissioner Hanslick,
Hanslick, aye.
Commissioner Ashcraft,
No.
Commissioner Allenbrand,
Allenbrand, aye.
Chairman Kelly.
Aye. We have 6 in favor and 1 against. Is that consistent with your count?
It is.
Very good. Mr. Heltney, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Excuse me. At this time, we'll move to item number 15 on your agenda. This is a request for authorization of revenue enhancement and expansion of the Impact Ambulance Program in the MedAct Division. I invite Paul Davis at this time and Scott Sayre. Thank you both for being back here. Thank you for your report on agenda review. Is there any further report you wanted to provide at this time before we hear some public comment and consider the item?
Thank you, Chairman. I'm prepared to just give some highlights if that's necessary. I can stand aside for public comments and be prepared to answer board's questions if you prefer.
If there's anything additional from your presentation and conversation last week, let's hear that now. If not, I appreciate you being here for questions.
Nothing additional, sir.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. At this time, I'd ask the clerk to prepare us to receive public comment on the item. Okay. Mr. Ben Hobart.
Ben Obert, Westwood Hills. I don't think a straitjacket metric of 10-minute response time is in the county's best interest. How has this changed over time? We say we have an 87% at 10 minutes. If it's 11 minutes, does it go up to 90%? 12 minutes? In my 30 years in Johnson County, traffic has become increasingly congested. How many of these failures to make the 10-minute response time were in rush hours between 6:30 and 8:30 in the morning, or 4 o'clock and 6:30 in the evening? You throw more bodies at the situation, that's not going to improve the congestion on the roads to meet the 10-minute response time. I note that the National Institute of Health says that utilization of ambulance dispatches with advanced life support are 65.4% of dispatches. Yet Johnson County has 85.4% of dispatches with advanced life support capabilities. I don't think the demographic slices in Johnson County are so much different to justify or explain that 20% goose up. I'd like to know why that is occurring. This is a 100% increase in hours, 9 full-time equivalents. One must ask, is that really what we're facing? I also note that the WHO, the World Health Organization, recommends that countries that have not implemented advanced life support ambulance services should not do so, because there is sparse evidence that the advanced life support capabilities improve mortality outcomes over basic life support capabilities within an ambulance unit. Thank you for receiving my comments.
Thank you. Next, I have Mr. Clay Smith.
Good morning, Chair and Commissioners. My name is Clay Smith, and I'm here on behalf of the professional paramedics of Johnson County. Our union stands in strong support of MedAct's proposal to expand the IMPACT program and responsibly adjust our user fees to fund it. This plan answers a clear need. Call volume is up 67% since 2010, and response time performances have slipped below the county's own goals. The expansion adds 9 providers, increasing coverage during the busiest hours and keeping units available when citizens call 911. It's efficient, it's fiscally sound, and makes Johnson County safer for both patients and providers. We appreciate your thoughtful consideration before today's vote. On behalf of every frontline provider, thank you for supporting a stronger, healthier EMS system. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, invite Paul Davis, Scott Sayre back to the podium for discussion. Commissioner Alan Brand is first.
Thank you, Chair. Well, first of all, thank you for keeping our county safe. And, you know, traffic all aside, that we continue to work on traffic needs as we have with the Southwest Corridor Plan and continue to work with traffic. The bottom line is we haven't had enough staff. We haven't had enough paramedics out there, and I support this 100%. And I thank you for coming before us with this. And I think your motion is, or your briefing sheet is very well detailed. And I wasn't here last week, but I read it, and so great job. And Chair, when you're ready, I have a motion.
We'll come back to you for that motion, Commissioner Alan Brand. Commissioner Ashcraft had a comment or question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Davis, what is the performance metric for your department in this area?
Our response time performance metric is to arrive on scene of our Code 1 calls or critical calls within 10 minutes, 90% of the time.
Okay. And currently, it is below that 87% and change. If I recall correctly, last week you indicated, well, let me pause, and a few years ago, it was at 92%. So it's been declining steadily, not precipitously, but steadily for a number of years. So last year you said this effort would increase response times to meet your performance metric by 1%. So am I to assume that would also compensate for any decline for the next year?
Not knowing what the call volume is going to be exactly, I think this gets us closer to that mark, but I'm not sure if compensation would be the right term.
Okay.
I'm not sure if it gets us to that.
So then clarify for me, related question, and this issue's come up before, but Resource X points out that in terms of capacity to pay for this service increase, it can be covered by modifications in Medicare reimbursement rates. Is that correct?
So not necessarily modifying Medicare reimbursement rates, but modifying our fee structure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate the clarification. And that there's plenty of capacity to do that within the market pressures of the region and the professional services that you provide.
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, what I'm struggling with is not this request, but what I'm struggling with is that this request is not enough. Our stated performance standard is 90%, and optimistically, and at best, we're going to get a 1% improvement, and that still puts us below our performance standard. And at the same time, we've got room within the rate setting structure to further enhance this service. So I would like to see us pursue that and get us up at least to minimum standard in the next year, and then make future modifications as necessary to stay at or above 90%. And as I understand it, Mr. Chairman, that range of 90 to 95% is kind of the sweet spot in service delivery and nationwide. And if I'm misstating that, Chief, you correct me. And I would suggest that we should not allow that, particularly since we have funding capacity available. And I know it will be pressure on the users, but we also have systems in place to help those that have financial, monetary concerns to make sure that they are not unduly penalized for this. So, Mr. Chairman, could we consider asking staff to look at this and give us a more enhanced, at least meeting the minimum standard of 90%, rather than doing only and I don't mean this disrespectfully, but a half measure. And I respect the sensitivity of staff, but this does not take us to the minimum that we say is our minimum. So that would be my request, Mr. Chairman. I'm rambling, I apologize.
No, I appreciate the comment. We'll go to Commissioner Myers next.
Thank you, Chair. Well, my comment was going to be that just as it depends on call volume, whether standards are going to rise or lower, the same as with the suggestion that there's going to be a 1% increase. I would think that would be a minimum, but it could be higher, or it could be lower, again, based on call volume, having the greatest effect on us meeting those standards or not. So I guess what I'm saying is that I would like to see us proceed with what's being presented and then judge the results of what's taking place, and then in our next budget cycle, be able to make the adjustments that need to be made in order for us to meet those standards.
Thank you. We'll go to Commissioner Brewer next.
Thank you. Well said, Commissioner Myers. I concur with that. I'm going to push back a little bit, having worked with residents for whom their emergency medical transport services was a fiscal challenge for them due to lack of coverage for a medical transport. I appreciate that we do have a fund to support individuals who are in that position, but it's not an inexhaustible fund. And so I approve the measure as currently proposed. It will allow us to do a couple of things. It'll allow us to understand what response time, the impact it has on response time changes in the positive. And it'll also allow us to understand, since we have not done this type of fee increase, I forget how many years you had shared, 5 years. It'll allow us to see what that impact of the fee increase is and the stress on that fund. So I prefer to take this measure at this time, be able to monitor it from those aspects, and then hear from Chief Davis if any additional changes need to be made going forward. Thank you.
Commissioner Hanslick.
Thank you. I appreciate Commissioner Ashcraft bringing up this issue, because I had the same thought when I read in the briefing sheet It says industry experts have recommended user fees set 2.5 to 3 times the Medicare reimbursement rates, and this is just proposing 2 times the Medicare reimbursement rate. I'm very glad to support this measure, but I do agree that we need to look at, is that enough? And how can we better offset the impact, potential negative impact on some of our payers that don't have the same resources? It's kind of a sticky situation, but I do think we need to pursue that to actually know what the impact would be on our ability to provide the best services possible.
So I appreciate this is great discussion, and one of the things I think we now all collectively recognize, this item in and of itself is not enough. We need more to handle what we anticipate, well, not only what's here now, to get us to the standard that we set for ourselves. And this is a standard that is consistent with the goals of the citizens of Johnson County, what they've expressed to us annually as one of their top, if not their absolute top priority, is ambulance and EMS service. Having somebody pick up the phone within 15 seconds when you call 911, and having somebody there within 10 minutes in a critical circumstance. That doesn't happen everywhere in the metro region. That fundamental feeling of safety is crucial to Johnson County. It's something we're very proud of. At the same time, we recognize these 9 individuals will have an impact on managing peak demand, helping us towards those enhanced response times that we want to see, and helping existing staff dealing with burnout and improving patient outcomes. All good things. But I think we hear, and what we're hearing is that we need to be doing more in this specifically and strategically investing robustly in enhancing our staff and the resources we put towards MedAct for what we anticipate continuing, a 67% increase in 10 years. And so I would recommend and ask that staff come back to us in the near future with an enhanced plan for more impact ambulance and more staff for MedAct, and allow us to consider not only the appropriate funding source therefore, but how that fits into the strategic alignment for an increased and an aging population in Johnson County. Commissioner Ashcraft.
Mr. Chairman, I think you threaded that needle nicely. I am in support of that. I support this. There's nothing wrong with this. I'm just arguing it's not quite right in terms of setting our performance standard. That performance standard has not fluctuated in as many years as I can remember. The actual performance has declined. That's why we do metrics. That's why we should look at metrics, and we should challenge ourselves. And in terms of funding, Commissioner Hanslick is right. I don't know what the cost will be or the service modifications will be, but this is one that people rely upon, and when you're not there, they howl, and they should. And so I'm supportive of this, and Mr. Chairman, I support your assertion. I'm good if staff is good. I don't hear any objections against our agreement.
There are times, Commissioner Ashcraft. All right, Commissioner Allenbrand, how about that motion when you're ready?
Thank you, Chair. I move to approve authorizing the Department of Emergency Services Director to increase MedAct user fees equal to a rate of 2 times the Medicare reimbursement rate as shown in the attachment, and hiring 9 EMTs and paramedics to expand the current impact ambulance program and authorizing the reallocation and expenditure of general fund reserves FY 2026 in the amount of $1,200,000.
Brewer, second.
So moved by Commissioner Allenbrand, seconded by Commissioner Brewer. Not seeing further questions on the item, would the clerk call the roll, please?
Commissioner Fast.
Aye.
Commissioner Myers.
Myers, aye.
Commissioner Brewer.
Brewer, aye.
Commissioner Hanslick.
Hanslick, aye.
Commissioner Ashcraft.
Yes.
Commissioner Allenbrand.
Allenbrand, aye.
Chairman Kelly.
Aye, that's 7 in favor, none against. Is that consistent with your count?
It is.
Very good. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it very much. At this time, we'll look to a management report from Ms. Postoke Ferguson.
Chairman and Commissioners, I have two items, but before I get into that, I wanted to take a moment to thank the Communications, Facilities, and Technology, Department of Technology and Innovation for relocating our meetings to this room. As you can imagine, it took a lot of effort, and special thanks to Alberto Lopez and Sean Nealon, I don't know if they're in the room at the moment, for designing the audiovisual setup and ensuring a positive experience for everyone present and those watching remotely. It also helped our Canvas this morning. And, just special thanks to DTI for helping us set up. There's always hiccups, as we know, but we usually try to shake it off. So, thank you, DTI. Next, I'm going to go into election update. I know that Canvas was held this morning. We have a few additional things to add to that. I would like Aaron Otto. Fred Sherman can't be here right now. So I'd like to ask Aaron Otto to give a few additional fun facts about election numbers and an initiative that we did regarding kids. But before I do that, special thanks to Fred Sherman and team, and Aaron Otto, your support in helping with the Canvas and all the particulars that go into a new location and just elections in general. So with that, Aaron?
Sure. And Aaron Otto from the County Manager's Office. Just want to note, this is the second time we've done a kids vote that was super successful in 2024. Quite candidly, one of the things that comes with this kids vote is that it helps encourage adults to come in and vote in advance. And by doing that, we help keep our traffic on Election Day proper a little bit more manageable. And so the results, I would tell you, the media had a great deal of interest in 24 because they were results that could be early, and likewise with this. A couple questions that came up were favorite places to visit in the Kansas City region. The Science Center at Union Station came in first. I'm a little scared to talk about the next result, which is favorite flavor of ice cream. It's sitting here at 11:30 before lunch, but chocolate chip cookie dough did dominate in that race. And then favorite sport, we saw swimming and then soccer, which I think is maybe a good omen for World Cup next year activities taking place, coming in first and second that with about 1,300 youngins voting in this election. Turnout for the last election, as you saw during your canvas, was right around 25%, just slightly over. That's very close to where we were the last two local elections in 21 and 23. And thank you for your work to both certify the results today, and we'll see if there's additional steps necessary if there's a recount requested tomorrow.
By 5 o'clock.
Thank you very
By
much.
5
sir.
o'clock tomorrow. That's
5
important,
o'clock.
Commissioner.
5 o'clock.
At the elections office.
5 o'clock.
At 5 o'clock.
Thank you, Aaron. Last item, I wanted to highlight the opening of the Adult Crisis Stabilization Center. Many of the commissioners were there last week, and you may be talking about it in your comments, but I did want to point out that celebrating this center, there's a lot of positive things for our community. There's some pictures here from the opening. Had an open house, and there were over 80 folks from the community that were able to attend. Chairman Kelly and Tim Dewey spoke to the crowd prior to the opening, or the grand opening in the open house. The Adult Crisis Stabilization is a 24-hour, 14-bed crisis observation and stabilization program providing care and treatment for adults in Johnson County experiencing behavioral health crisis. The Adult Crisis Stabilization Center will benefit not only members of the community in need of mental health assistance, but will also lessen the demands on area law enforcement and emergency rooms where these individuals were previously treated. The program is housed at the Recovery Place in Shawnee along with the Johnson County Mental Health Adult Detox Unit. The Adult Stabilization Center will initially serve current clients of mental health before opening to all Johnson County residents. So with that, Chairman, that concludes my report.
Thank you very much for the report. At this time, we'll move to commissioner comments. I'll invite Commissioner Fast if she wanted to.
Yes,
Thank you so much. The auditor report. Commissioner Fast, I'll come to you first. And I'd had it circled here. I apologize. Mr. Doug Jones, take your flowers on the peer review.
We will do that. Mr. Chairman, members of the Board of County Commissioners, Doug Jones, County Auditor's Office. I am here to present the results of our recent peer review. From time to time, I get asked, who audits the auditors? And the answer is auditors from other jurisdictions or other audit offices. Yes, even we get audited, and it is called a peer review. Our peer reviews are conducted through the Association of Local Government Auditors Peer Review Program, which is recognized by the government auditing standards. As government auditors, we follow the government auditing standards. These standards provide a framework for performing high-quality audit work with competence, integrity, objectivity, and independence. To comply with these standards, we must obtain an external peer review conducted by independent reviewers at least once every 3 years. A peer review gives a local government and the public assurance that their audit organization is following government auditing standards and has a quality control system that is properly designed and operating to ensure these standards are met. Last month, we had our required peer review, and I'm happy to report that we received a peer review rating of pass, the highest possible rating, and an opinion of compliance with the government auditing standards. The peer review team did not have any formal observations requiring a management letter, and that's a first for our office. Our peer review was performed by 2 experienced audit professionals who volunteered their time. They evaluated our procedures and internal monitoring processes, a sample of our audits and work papers, documents related to independence and training, and they also interviewed audit staff. Achieving a rating of pass and an opinion of compliance are evidence of the hard work by the audit team to meet the rigorous requirements of the standards and produce quality audit reports. So to wrap it up, we passed our required peer review, receiving the highest possible rating and a clean opinion with no management letter. Following the government auditing standards and passing required peer reviews mean the board, county management, and the public can rely on our work. I want to thank the peer review team for their time and the audit staff for their efforts to ensure that we follow the standards in conducting our performance audits. Our next peer review is fall 2028. And finally, we make our peer review reports publicly available on our website, and that's also a requirement of the standards. What questions do you have about our peer review?
No questions from me, but congratulations.
Thank you.
There you go.
I think Michelle's back here. We have one person. So with that, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Thank you, Michelle. All right, without further ado then, Commissioner Fast, how about a commissioner comment, please?
yes, I just want to thank staff for the setup today and my colleagues for the accommodations. I'm not feeling well. I'll be logging off after this meeting, but thank you for accommodating me for this meeting.
We hope you feel better soon. Thank you. Commissioner Allen Brand.
Thank you, Chair. Well, I attended the DeSoto School Foundation breakfast and was happy to support that with Head Start and some of the other programs that are being taken away from the schools. It was a great event. I also I attended the K-State Extension meeting last night, and I have to say that that's the first time I was able to attend it. I was so impressed. 99% of the food that they had provided was homegrown out in the ag tourism world. You know, I'm just so impressed with Tara and her staff, the partnerships within the county of Johnson County Parks and Rec, the 50+ program, JCDS. I'm just amazed, and I had no idea, and I felt embarrassed about it, but what a great program. And you know what I really look forward to is not only are they working with our aging department, providing tax services, they're also looking at youth and getting them involved, because as we, I always say I'm not looking at today, I'm looking in the future. For my grandkids, that I love that they're bringing more youth involved in those programming, so I was very much appreciative of that. I also, during our vote canvass today, I want to say thank you to the election office, to Aaron Otto and Fred Sherman. I had spoke with an attorney that was here, and he was here on behalf of a client, and he said that his recommendation to his client was not to count a recount, because he felt that he said he traveled all over the state, that this was one of the most effective, and well-run election. So I want to thank those two. I know it takes an army of people, but I was very appreciative of that. Also, I want to take something that was prepared that I'd like to read. You know, ag tourism is, I have a lot of it in my district. Commissioner Brewer has some in her district. With ag tourism, you know, has created a unbelievable economic arm, you know, with our ag industry, and also, you know, just learning, education and training. But, you know, with everything, there's always one that doesn't comply with what the regulations are. And we have had some very troubling the last couple of years with one that was in operation of some of the things that were going on to wee hours in the morning, and it was becoming so difficult for people that live out there. So I want to extend a special thank you to the legal department and the county staff of planning and environmental health for their diligent work. Through our combined efforts, we were successful in ensuring the health and safety of our residents. I would also like to personally appreciate the leadership of Betsy Lascaster through this litigation. It was truly a team effort. I am so grateful for the dedication and hard work. I have received calls. This was an ag tourism that has been now shut down. And I literally had people crying on the phone that they are so excited that this happened. And that it was just good team effort. So I want to thank them. And I also ran by the chair yesterday. I would like to look about March. I've always gone out to visit ag tourism. And we had a date planned in October, which was one of the busiest times of the year. And, because I talked to Commissioner Brewer and Commissioner Fast, but I told the chair what I'd really like to do is take the commissioners and all of us go out along with some other people on a bus to go out and tour. So Penny Postal Ferguson, I'm going to talk to you about that. I think it would be well received, and I think it will. You know, we have mended a lot of fences out there, and I think you'll have a lot of fun. So, thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Myers.
Thank you, Chair. Last Friday, I got to, it was my pleasure to attend the JCPRD 50-plus Veterans Day public celebration breakfast at Matt Ross Center, and it was just an excellent program, very well attended. I got to meet some veterans and just really enjoyed, and the program was put on extremely well, and looking forward to doing that in the future also. And then last night, I attended the Solid Waste Management Committee meeting where there's some information that I'll share with the other commissioners from some results of a survey that we had done. And it was a very good meeting also with a lot of discussion. So anyway, it was a very good week, but the Veterans Day celebration was definitely a highlight.
Thank you. Commissioner Ashcraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, just one quick item. On the consent agenda today, we had an item regarding WEX and the fuel card, and part of it referenced EV charging, and it just brought to mind, we've had some discussion from the dais regarding the charging for EV charges, and staff was going to look at it, and it was something that Resource X had suggested we consider charging for that service rather than allowing it to be free. And I was just going to ask if staff could give us an update at some point.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Brewer.
Thank you, Chair. A few updates. I too want to echo Commissioner Myers. 2 days in a row last week, Thursday morning, with staff, county staff, who have also served our country in different branches of the military. we hosted a breakfast, and then JCPRD and the county came together celebrating our community veterans at Friday morning's event. And I have to give a shout out to two of those veterans, Al, who's 101, going to be 102, and Adeline, who's 99, and she's going to be 100, I think, next month. They showed us how to age gracefully, and I would say Adeline and Al are a young 101 and 99, so I hope I age as gracefully as they have. I am so thrilled with our Adult Crisis Stabilization Center, not only that we have that facility now within our county, but also how mental health has approached the development of that product and where it's located. I think it's been very intentional to create an atmosphere that is conducive to addressing the needs of our adults who find themselves in a crisis situation when we think about behavioral health. I am always very honored to be a part of the vote canvass and certification process. Keep in mind, I'm still within my first year, so I was somewhat I knew there was a lot of elections that we were going to be certifying yesterday. It wasn't until Commissioner Sherman shared with a fact sheet that it was 97 elections. And I take that role very seriously. And I do want to remind residents, this election is the last time that mail-in ballots that arrive within a 3-day grace period that are postmarked the day of the election will be accepted. I think Chairman yesterday at that meeting helped highlight that. I believe it was 445 ballots that came in within that grace period that we need to remind, and hopefully we will continue to educate voters that grace period has gone away due to change at the state legislature around voting. I also had an opportunity to attend United Community Services Public Policy Forum yesterday, subsequent to the vote canvass, and I was very impressed by the panel of our state legislators representing both sides of the aisle, and how passionate they are and how planful they are going into the 2026 legislative session to address some housing concerns, especially for those who are renters within our community, and what that changing population, both in the percent of population, but also age and needs of that population, and making sure that we as a state, as a county, are intentional in making sure that we have safe, appropriate housing products in our rental choices for our residents. And to speak on that for just a moment, when we talk about and we hear week after week from residents who are experiencing homelessness, the need that we have for all types of housing responses: shelter, transitional housing, multifamily housing, single housing. I think sometimes we forget as individuals when we think about housing and housing struggles, just at the very root of it, what it's like to know that at the end of a workday, I have literally a place to lay down my load and rest my head, and to be safe and to be housed. I recently, the last 2 weeks, have been working with an individual who is literally living in their car. They work full-time, but they do not earn enough to stay stably housed. It's always a reminder what many of us take for granted. Hopefully, it'll be thoughtful of making sure that whether that is shelter, transitional, multifamily, or single, what home means to us all. And finally, I was happy to attend the Spring Hill Chamber annual meeting where Johnson County, we got a certificate for 150 years of business, and the parks for 75 years. So I was happy to accept those certificates. Thank you.
Commissioner Hanslick.
Thank you. I'm not going to repeat everything that everyone else has said. It's been a busy and very satisfying week, especially with all our veterans events. Two things I wanted to mention. First of all, as we know from our county community survey every year, public safety is at the top of everyone's priority list. And this past Saturday, I had the opportunity to see that in action when I attended a meeting that the Johnson County Sheriff's Office put on to help build community engagement with the Sheriff's Office. And the event focused on strengthening those relationships and letting groups, especially of diverse citizens and diverse residents, know that they can work with the Sheriff's Office, that it is a safe office to contact. We know that right now there are a lot of communities that are very suspect of law enforcement. And so I want to shout out to the Sheriff's Office for holding that meeting and for reassuring the people in this community that the Sheriff's Office serves everyone, and that they can reach out to the Sheriff's Office to report a crime or to get help. It was a really great discussion. Secondly, I wanted to mention that at yesterday's Commission on Aging meeting, I'm not a voting member, elected our 2026 chair and vice chair. That would be Ben Harbour as chair and Ruth Hopkins as vice chair. And also the winner of the Peg Deaton Leadership and Aging Award was given to Kathy Slater. She is a dedicated volunteer at Sunrise Senior Living. As we discuss at the Commission on Aging, the rapid increase in our aging population makes their work even more important as we move into the future. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you everybody for your comments. In the interest of time, I'm going to limit mine. But one thing that I've done at the last few meetings, I want to continue. You've seen it before, you'll see it again, and that's a brief summary of some of the highlights. $6.5 million in savings on a wastewater project is not insignificant. That is innovation that adds to ongoing cost savings for ratepayers. And I know Commissioner Hanslick has talked about it previously, and it's something that we are working on with our new communications department led by Lisa Thurber, is better quantifying these savings, these innovations, these cost avoidances that the staff and the policymakers work hand in hand together to bring to the people of Johnson County. It's not insignificant, and adding $6.5 million to that total today is a nice win. Another nice and important win is adding 9 new FTEs and new impact ambulance services, not only for the people, all of us who are served by those impact ambulances, but for the people who work within the impact ambulances. Anyone who works on the front lines at MedAct, you have my deepest gratitude and our appreciation, and we'll continue working hard to make sure that this is a rewarding work environment for you as you provide life-saving services to the people of Johnson County. And I look forward to that continued discussion based on the sentiments of this board and the sentiments expressed by the people of Johnson County. But the good work today isn't done. 2 important committees of the whole that I am excited about, and I'll hold my comments on them until then, one of which is the legislative platforms, our partnerships with the federal and state government, but then also a report out from a working group regarding the opioid settlement funds that are coming to Johnson County and how best we utilize those in a principled fashion to respond to the impacts of the opioid crisis in Johnson County. We look forward to those committees of the whole beginning at 1 o'clock this afternoon right here. Until then, we will take a 10-minute break, and absent objection from this board, we'll adjourn this meeting and then start an agenda review. See no objection, we are adjourned. Thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mike Kelly. I am the chairman of the Board of County Commissioners for Johnson County, Kansas. We're here on November 13th, 2025 to have a review of the agenda that will be heard on November 20th, 2025. I will note for the record that all commissioners, with the exception of Commissioner Fast, are here, and we will start with the consent agenda. Number one on the consent agenda is considering the 2023 business session minutes. Any questions on those minutes? Okay, then we'll ask the clerk to read number 2, please.
Resolution number 123-25. Consider approving resolution number 123-25, authorizing the cancellation of outstanding county-issued checks that are at least 14 months old.
Mr. Christensen, welcome back.
Thank you. Brent Christensen, Financial Management Administration. So this resolution presented is our county annual cancellation of outstanding accounts payable and payroll checks that are 2 years age or older. This is our standard process in collaboration with Treasury, County Treasurer, as a form of housekeeping of clearing all outstanding checks at the bank. And by statute 10-815, the board is allowed to cancel these type of checks. In addition, this resolution has another addition to it, and we're requesting the board to cancel all outstanding checks that are at least 14 months old. In the fourth quarter of 2023, the board approved the contract to change the county's custodian bank account from UMB Bank to U.S. Bank, and it took us about 6 to 8 months to transition to and start the first round of disbursements from U.S. Bank in August of 2024. And so because of that, we have still outstanding checks with UMB Bank. And so our goal here is not only ask the board to cancel the checks that are 2 years older, we're also asking to cancel all checks that are outstanding with UMB Bank that are at least 15 months or older. And under the Uniform Commercial Code, a check is considered stale if it's older than 6 months, and banks are not obligated to honor those checks. So it's allowed by state law, and so that is what we're requesting. So in regards to the outstanding checks, I have Exhibit A and Exhibit B attached. Exhibit A is the Johnson County issued checks under Johnson County. Exhibit B is the checks issued under the Johnson County Parks and Rec District. As you know, they're a separate legal entity, but Johnson County Financial Management and Administration issues all those checks, and they all use the same bank that we use. Staff we're not required to do it, but anything that was over $1,000, we attempted to contact those different suppliers and vendors to see if we can get their checks cleared. And then any active or terminated employee that may have had outstanding payroll check, we also tried to contact them to see if we can get them cleared. The liability is still on the county. All we're doing is just asking you to cancel the check so we can clear them with the bank. How that go is the liability will be moved to our county-wide fund and posted as revenue, and then when there's a request to reissue those checks, we'll hit the expense it from the county-wide fund, and that's been our normal process. So from there, and lastly, we will list all the outstanding checks on the county's FMA website, and there's a URL link in the briefing sheet. With that, I'll take any questions.
Thank you very much for a recitation of the standard process we go through on an annual basis here. Are there any questions regarding this process? Seeing none, Mr. Christensen, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Would the clerk read item 3, please?
Consider annual approval for the investment policy for Johnson County with no revenue or cost impact to the county.
Thank you very much. Mr. Sullivan, welcome back.
Good afternoon, Commissioners and Chairman Kelly. Jeff Sullivan, Cash Manager, Treasury, Taxation and Vehicles. The agenda item, as mentioned, is the request for, request for approval of financial policy number 180, the Johnson County Investment Policy. The county, being an expanded powers entity, is required to get the investment policy approved each year by its governing body. Expanded powers is awarded to us by the state each year through an annual review process. Approving the policy by our board is one of the steps required by the state's Pool Money Investment Board in order to maintain that expanded powers investment status. And that allows us to invest out 4 years on the maturity timeline instead of the statutory 2-year limitation. The longer investment horizon allows us opportunities to earn higher investment earnings. Treasury, Taxation, and Vehicle staff and the Investment Review Group, which is a board-appointed committee and chaired by Commissioner Ashcraft, has reviewed and approved the investment policy with no changes this year, and we're proposing or recommending that the board approve the policy as proposed by staff. With that, I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sullivan. Questions regarding this policy? Oh, all right, Mr. Sullivan, it's my understanding this is the last time you're going to be presenting this policy to us. Is that correct?
That is correct. I'm here through the end of the year, but then I'm going to retire.
Well, Mr. Sullivan, allow me to be the first to say congratulations. We've looked back in your 10-year career in Johnson County, the investments that the county has earned based on the policies that you set has been $175 million in investment earnings on behalf of the people of Johnson County. More so than that, you've been trusted with an incredibly large portfolio of taxpayer dollars. We know that you've taken that role incredibly seriously, always watched it with professionalism and with the standards of being a good steward, one that we could definitely rely on. So I'd like to say thank you very much for your diligent work.
You're welcome, and thank you for the nice comments. Again, I'm just one part of the Treasury group within Treasury, Taxation, and Vehicles, and all of us are responsible for those earnings. So I'm proud to have been here for 10 or 11 years to be part of that. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Further comments? Commissioner Ashcraft?
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, Mr. Chairman, you're right. It is $175 million over 10 years. I went back through my records and noticed that in 2010, the annual investment development was about $4.5 million. In 2022, it was $9 million. But in 2024, it jumped to $47 million, and this year it's approaching $50 million. So I will tell you that Mr. Sullivan, he's a humble but dedicated man, and I've had the opportunity to serve on this investment review committee, maybe not that whole time, but for well more than half.
Good majority of it, yes.
And have watched him work. He's very unassuming and very methodical. But, Mr. Chairman, I have noticed that the wear and tear of that job, and I can understand this, has really had an impact on Mr. Sullivan. Even though professionally he has maintained his composure, that it has had an impact on him. And so I had an opportunity to find a photograph of him before he was on this. And if you notice, I mean, that is Jeff, but he had a little bit more hair then. And I will tell you that I do envy that hair. If I had any, Mr. Sullivan, I would really be proud. So
I'm going to need to know where you got that picture.
Well, I will also point out that Mr. Sullivan has an artistic bent, and I hope that he perceives that in his retirement. This photo, Mr. Sullivan is in the red, and I don't know who blue and green are, but if anybody knows who the orange is, that is Mr. Sullivan's college roommate.
That is.
And his roommate
Now I know
wanted
where
to
you
make
got the
sure
picture.
that he expressed his appreciation for working with you and the years of service and the friendship that you've had to him, but also what you've done for Johnson County. You have a role that is really very important, as the chair pointed out. $175 million I don't think there's anyone sitting at the dais that will be able to make that claim after 10 years. That is truly remarkable. And to recognize that and to also give you something befitting this occasion for your retirement to help occupy your time, I believe the county manager has a few words and a gift.
Yes, thank you. I want to give you a token of our appreciation on behalf of the board. But before I do that, and I know we'll have more time to embarrass you and thank you for your service because we have the rest of the year.
If I could interrupt you.
Oh, sure.
Can you take that picture down?
Megan, that's his request. I did just want to say thank you for over a decade of service that has already been highlighted, but you did take us through a tough time where financially we were very uncertain through COVID, and to help us navigate the interest with all those things going on, it gave me confidence as county manager. You and your team, you were on it, you reported on it, you kept us in the loop. So I just want to say a particular thank you during that time period. And I know we have you through the rest of the year, so I just wanted to give you a lighthearted token of our appreciation. Colors to go with your picture.
Thanks for all the nice and kind words. I appreciate it. I'm not going to take a lot of credit for that $175 million. You have to realize that it's a function of the interest rate environment and it's a function of the size of the portfolio, which has grown. Neither of those were because of me. So I just took what I could do and made the most of it. And I'm glad you guys are appreciative, and I appreciate all of you and working with you over the years. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeff.
Well,
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Well, thank you, and thank you for the good spirits, Mr. Sullivan. At this time, we'd ask clerk to read item number 4.
Resolution number 149-25. Consider adopting a resolution to designate Johnson County, Kansas as a Kansas Broadband Ready Community, BRC, as defined by the State Office of Broadband Development.
Diane Wickland, welcome back.
Thank you. Hard to follow those pictures.
We have
there.
no photographs, I promise.
Good. So this item is for the board's consideration to adopt a resolution to designate Johnson County as a broadband-ready community as defined by the State Office of Broadband Development. As a reminder, the board endorsed the Johnson County Broadband and Digital Access Plan on March 27th of this year. The plan does include 3 categories of recommendations for implementation of the plan. And one of the short-term action items is to list or to have Johnson County become this designated broadband-ready community per the state requirements, which is defined as a city or county with the state of Kansas that has met all requirements established by the program and has received this certification by the state. And so the program does address broadband access challenges in unserved and underserved areas of the state, and it does assist communities in preparing for future grant funding opportunities to provide a more efficient, accessible path to broadband readiness. And so to qualify, one of the qualifiers for this broadband-ready community is that the county must designate a single point of contact for broadband network projects or related inquiries. And so this resolution authorizes the county manager to appoint the person of contact. And so once the resolution is adopted, the county manager will document that appointment in a memo. And I think generally for now, it will probably be the Public Works Department that will be the point of contact. And that's primarily because the Public Works Department does receive the majority of inquiries and permit requests for broadband network projects and related infrastructure. So with that, staff is recommending approval of the resolution. And with that, I am available for questions.
Thank you very much, Ms. Wickland. Questions or comments regarding the broadband plan, Commissioner Ashcraft?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm good with this, but before next week, I'd like to be educated a little bit more deeply if you would find the time.
Sure, yes,
Thank
we can do that.
Commissioner Brewer?
So, thank you, Ms. Wicklund. During the years of the pandemic, there was a lot of emphasis, and there were some dollars that came in that were directed to broadband. There was even state research that was done and state meetings that were held throughout to identify. So at this point in time, when we think about the resolution and the work that's been done here, how much of that is in alignment with what came out of the local, regional, and state process as we identified and discussed broadband needs, not only those areas that are underserved by broadband services, but there was even some mapping during that time that identified multifamily residences for whom, because there was not wiring to the building, there was not opportunity for internet access. How fulsome did that work that was done during that time period is being brought forward as we're thoughtful about the work we're proposing to do here and qualifying for grants and what types of grants we'd be going after for what types of projects?
Jay can add to what, my comments if he wants, but, so of course this resolution has no funding attached, but the broadband plan that the board endorsed in March did have several recommendations and action steps. So I would say that the plan and this resolution just continues to help support the internet service providers that may apply for grants or funding opportunities, whether it's at the state level or federal level, just as kind of another category, you know, that maybe is in a funding application that Johnson County is prepared for, and to be able to work on those different broadband projects and expansion of infrastructure. So I you know, the state Office of Broadband Development does administer those funding programs, but.
Thank you, and I believe, Mr. Lysick, if I remember, you guys, the county worked quite a bit with, I'm trying to remember the nonprofit, digital.
The digital divide.
Digital divide, okay.
And Commissioner Jay Leipzig, Director of Planning, and as a follow-up comment on your comment you just made, Commissioner Brewer, about the mapping capabilities. A lot of the maps that were developed and some of that background work in terms of identifying the areas that were underserved came out of a lot of the COVID funds. The pandemic funds were part of that and provided that background information and some of the additional data that we have when we developed the plan. So the mapping piece of it was a huge component of that and coming out of the pandemic.
And the federal infrastructure bill that was passed under a previous administration had components of addressing internet and broadband needs in especially underserved areas. Where does that stand now? Are those federal funds still available to be obligated and expended, or has that been frozen?
Commissioner Brewer, I believe those funds have been suspended or reallocated. So this doesn't really, from a financial standpoint with the county in terms of enabling additional funding, doesn't do that for us, but we're hoping at least lay the groundwork. So if those continue again in the future, we will be able to apply for those quickly and try to further implement it. But at this point, my understanding is those funds have been suspended.
Thank you.
Any further questions? All right, Ms. Wicklund, Mr. Leipzig, thank you very much. Would the clerk read number 5, please?
Consider approving Addendum 1 to the Fourth Main Agreement between the City of Leawood and Johnson County, dated October 31st, 2024.
Ms. Picaric, welcome back.
Thank you, Chairman and Commissioners. So Johnson County Wastewater is constructing 2 pumping stations and a common force main along State Line Road. These pumping stations will intercept flow that flows across the state line to be treated by others, intercept that flow and bring it back to our Tomahawk wastewater treatment facility. We estimate this project will save over $100 million, or excuse me, approximately $100 million over the next 20 years when compared to continuing to send that flow to others for treatment. At the beginning of this project, at the beginning of construction, I should say, design, Johnson County worked with the city of Leawood in terms of putting together an agreement. The city of Leawood wanted to do some work along state line that included pavement work as well as fiber optic improvements that were adjacent to our project. And so in October of last year, the board actually authorized that agreement with the city of Leawood. The city also, so our project is now under construction. The city of Leawood also operates the stormwater infrastructure within our project area. And during construction of that force main, if you take a look at the map there on the right-hand side, the black line you see is the common force main that's under construction. And during that construction, we identified there was a stormwater pipe that crossed the new force main, and it was found to be in poor condition. The city requested that the storm pipe be replaced as part of this project scope within our project area, while that whole area was already excavated and opened up. Johnson County Wastewater requested a proposal from the contractor. The city reviewed and accepted that proposal for the force main work, and the city confirmed that they would reimburse Johnson County Wastewater for the work. So the request before you then is to amend the agreement that the board authorized last year with the city of Leawood so that the city can reimburse Johnson County Wastewater for that storm pipe work. We don't need any additional funding for this amendment. The amount of the storm pipe work was $27,005.39. That work actually, in order to keep our contractor going, and because we had communication from the city that they would reimburse us, our contractor proceeded with completing that work, and so we do not anticipate any changes to that cost. In case there were any minor changes needed, we've also included in the amendment that the county manager could sign any addendums related to any minor work associated with that. And with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Ashcraft, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. McCarrick, I'm trying to put this in context. Is this an outgrowth of the reconfiguration of the relationship we have with Kansas City Mo and Tomahawk diverting flow and so forth? Is this kind of part of that grander scheme?
It is, yes.
Okay, I thought so. Thank you.
All right, any further questions on this? All right.
Thanks.
Thank you so much, Ms. McCarrick. How about item number 6, please?
Consider adopting the Johnson County Transit Strategic Plan.
Josh Powers is here, a long time coming, and a lot of diligent work on behalf of Mr. Powers and others. Particularly would like to thank Mr. Otto for all of his work on this as well. But finally, before us is the Johnson County Transit Strategic Plan. Mr. Powers.
Chairman, Commissioners, good afternoon. Josh Powers with Transit. As the chairman said, this has been a long time coming, so what I'm going to try to do is refresh your memory of what we talked about over the course of 5 COWs, Committee of the Whole sessions, talking about the approach, the different services, how to conceive of, an aspirational transit system in the future, and then how to bring it back to our first steps to get to that place. So beginning in April of 2024, the county engaged with the Tool Design Group, which was our vendor. We were very pleased with the work that Tool and the project manager, Andrea Ostradka, and her staff did for us over the course of the first months beginning in April. There was a robust outreach and engagement effort that was made. There was a survey tool that was deployed that was statistically valid both from the countywide perspective as well as from each commissioner district to try to get that understanding of where people's likes, dislikes, concerns, and desires were regarding transit. Similarly, we had individual interviews with each of the commissioners, and we formed a steering group that included some great stakeholders like our appointee to the KCATA board, Julie Lorenz, our previous Public Works Director, Brian Pedig, Commissioner Hanslick, and some other stakeholders from the Johnson County Transit Council. So over the work of those early months, the steering committee and staff working with the board identified a vision statement that carried through each step of the strategic planning process. And that vision statement is on the screen. Johnson County Transit envisions a connected community using targeted, efficient transit services to connect people and destinations. And as you all know from all of your public service and years in government, getting a vision statement that everyone can agree on, that actually hits on the desires of what we're trying to do is not easy, but we felt like this really did communicate at a high level what we're trying to achieve. And so in trying to achieve the goals of that vision statement, the steering committee, and with the help of obviously the direction of the board and staff, identified these guiding principles for scenario development, meaning how would we approach the individual services that we offer. So fixed route, meaning local and express routes, paratransit and microtransit, and then further down the road, some of the organizational concerns. So I'll just go quickly over these. We wanted to prioritize high demand areas with high quality service that is frequent, attractive, feels safe, and is easy to use. Improve transit access in Johnson County for people experiencing transportation barriers. Ensure service is efficient and sustainably funded. Seek partnerships, for workforce access and economic growth and development, and to support countywide and regional goals and programs. And so, as I mentioned, we do have these various service offerings that you're familiar with, being fixed route, microtransit, and paratransit. This map that you see in front of you is our existing system today. And what I'd really point out to you is the hatched or shaded area, which is our current microtransit service area. The effort for the strategic plan really is focused on a couple of high-level principles that I think you're familiar with. It's the idea of frequency versus geographic coverage. You can do, in most instances, one or the other, but you can't do both because of the cost. And so a geographic perspective is to cover as much ground as possible and serve as many people as possible. The drawback or the trade that you make there is the frequency of service, because obviously the further the vehicle has to go, the longer it's going to take to make that trip. Conversely, if you focus on a frequency type of model, then what you're trying to do is serve a smaller geographic area with much more frequent service. So your trips are shorter and the routes are shorter, and the completion of the route can be done more quickly. So moving from this map of our existing system to what we're calling a foundational system, this would be the first step in realizing a potential 2050 system that was a high-frequency system over the whole network. So what jumps out on these from the previous map to this map is that yellow shaded area would be the new microtransit service area. So basically what we're trying to achieve in that effort is to have the service area completely within the 435 loop, bounded by the lines that you see on the maps there, basically K7, the county border on the north and state line on the east, and I believe 119th on the south, excuse me. The point here is really, when we rolled out microtransit in 2019, we were among the first suburban places to do it, and we made a very robust effort that was also very much strengthened by federal funding in response to the COVID pandemic. So we had some extra money to utilize in this new service. And as you guys will remember, the utilization was quick and dramatic, and the growth of the service was immediately seen. We were doing up to 1,000 trips a day. That is a really astounding number for a place like Johnson County, a suburban, exurban place. We actually did the exact wrong thing, and I would say it's my fault. We were trying to pilot a new type of service, but we were actually cannibalizing riders away from our fixed route service, right? If you have fixed route service that is hour headways, meaning the bus only comes every hour, and you're offering a very low cost, curb to curb, door to door, on demand solution, there's really no reason to use the fixed route service, right? It's kind of a chicken or the egg problem to solve, because in order to have a microtransit service that really does complement a fixed route service, you have to have a high enough level of frequency on your fixed route to make that connection possible. And so on the microtransit side, the way to solve that portion of the problem is to shrink the service area. On the foundational system on the fixed route side, what we're really talking about is first and foremost a standardization across all of our routes so that no route has a headway of longer than 60 minutes. So at worst, a bus will come every 60 minutes. And our first investments on increased frequency would be on the 401 Metcalf Plaza, the 475 75th Street, and on the 520 Strangline Express route. Additionally, the strategic plan proposes a new express route from the Mission Transit Center to KCATA's East Village Transit Center at 10th and Main approximately. And the idea there is that in the peaks, the service for all of our routes that go to Mission Transit Center, which is all of them, you could get on a bus every 15 minutes to get to the East Village Transit Center across state line, and then engage with the greater regional network in Kansas City, Missouri. From a paratransit perspective, what we are proposing is a recognition of the fact that that higher level of frequency on our fixed route service will trigger what's called ADA complementary paratransit. And that's a federal requirement that says that once you have exceeded a threshold of transit across the midday hours, you really have to also implement what is called ADA paratransit, which means you have to draw a 3¼ mile buffer around your existing fixed route service. And then for any person who cannot get to a bus stop physically on their own, you must go get that person and take them to their destination within the ADA paratransit zone. So traditionally, we have not done that. What we have done is this board and previous boards have elected to go above and beyond and do more than the federal government requires by providing non-ADA paratransit countywide. And so when you see obviously the buffer zone, the bubble around the fixed routes there to the northeast of the county, but then the rest of the county is colored in that yellow color, we provide curb to curb, door to door, paratransit service for people outside of the mandatory ADA paratransit service area. And what we heard in the development of strategic plan was that the board was very interested in not reducing that access to folks who lived, outside of the northeast quadrant of Johnson County. So what we want folks to understand is we've never done ADA paratransit before. We're not quite sure what the demand is going to look like. There is at least a universe in which it's potentially possible that we will have to cap trips in the non-ADA service area. That is not without precedent. We used to do that in the past based on our resources. So the hope is to keep things as close to how they are today and not have to cap trips. But until we turn on the ADA paratransit, we really won't know what the demand will look like. And then again, as I said at the outset, the reduction of the size of the microtransit service area. So I'm going to pause right there on the service offerings before we move to some of the organizational things. Again, in this presentation and in the action item next week, unless directed otherwise by the board, we're trying to keep it at a fairly high level because obviously we spent 18 months in the development of this plan and there's a lot of detail to consider.
Questions? Excuse me. I'll invite questions at this time specifically related to the service offerings. Commissioner Ashcraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Couple of things, Mr. Powers. I have not seen the plan yet. If I could get that, I would appreciate it. I mean, the final, I've seen previous versions, but if I could. And I've said this to you before, you make mistakes and you realize you make mistakes and you learn from them and make adjustments. And I appreciate that experimental testing approach to systems like this. That's what you should do. I'm sure you'd prefer not to make mistakes also, but it's a dynamic, complicated environment, so I commend you for that. Back on slide 7, though, if we could, there are several tentacles that go into non-Johnson County areas. And I was just wondering, do those businesses or locations that are getting this service, do they provide any supplemental compensation for supporting this service?
No, Commissioner, they do not. And the key there is the federal government is agnostic on jurisdictional boundaries when it comes to ADA paratransit. If you offer a service that goes across a state or county or city line, then you're on the hook to provide the ADA complementary paratransit. And we have historically provided service on paratransit outside of Johnson County into Wyandotte and Jackson County as well.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Brewer.
Yes, in looking at the plan that we received, and I believe this is the recommended final plan, I just had a couple questions on frequency. So for the high frequency routes, which on the graphic that is on our screens would be that pink thicker line, for lack of a better description, and the green thicker line. During peak time, every 15 minutes. During non-peak time, every 30 minutes, and those are the high-frequency routes. And then on the, what we consider those local routes, the plan notes that 4 of these routes have operated at a 60 to 70-minute frequency, will be unchanged from the existing service. Does that mean that that's still the frequency on those local routes, or are we, because I know overall, the big priority was increasing frequency, which was part of the motivator on shrinking the coverage footprint. So remind me, because I think I was focused on those high-frequency routes and what their wait time would be. Remind me on those non-high-frequency local routes. Are we improving the wait time on those?
We are. So the standardization piece of the strategic plan is that all routes that are not high frequency will operate on a 60-minute headway. So those routes that were more than 60 minutes will now come into alignment so that all of our routes that are not high frequency routes would be hour headways.
And at one, if I have a couple follow-up questions, if that's okay. At one point, I think in one of your presentations, some of those routes previously could be as long as 80 minutes.
Certainly, in the past, we've had routes that were very, very long.
And the what I call the K10 connector route, that will go from 90 minutes to 30 minutes?
The K10 has always been a 60-minute route, so
Okay.
it's not, occasionally there are layovers in Lawrence because of the school, whether school's in or out, but it is an hour headway. And actually, the K10 connector, when school is in the peaks, is a half an hour headway today.
So it won't change as far as
No,
its frequency?
No.
And
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
The K10 connector is a unique route in that, it's kind of, it's got these built-in ridership populations on either end of it. And so it really is not changing in any other way other than some of the potential organizational recommendations like branding that we haven't yet talked about. But no, it's our highest ridership route, and it is not seeing any kind of substantial change under this strategic plan.
Then final question is operating days of week. So currently our public buses service is Monday through Friday?
Correct.
And so our microtransit, changing the footprint and also going Monday to Friday.
Correct.
So our paratransit, ADA compliant paratransit, the 3/4 of a mile ADA paratransit, that service mirrors regular transit service. So I'm making an assumption that that's the 5-day a week as well?
Correct.
And then the non-ADA compliant is also 5-day a week.
Correct.
So we will not have, and we haven't had transit service on Saturdays and Sundays?
The only transit services that we have offered on Saturday and Sunday is microtransit. And so, yes, that piece of this would go away in order to standardize our entire system. We very much would like to operate 7 days a week, but the instruction under this strategic plan was to maintain under our current budget to improve the system without adding any other resources. And so that's one of the ways that we can do some of these improvements is by not offering microtransit on the weekends. And what I would just offer furthermore is that when we were really relying on microtransit over the course of the pandemic and doing, 1,000 rides a day. That has changed a lot. A lot of the on-demand systems and services in the region have come up to speed since then. We are currently doing around 50 a day on microtransit. So it is not the new exciting service that it was in 2019, 2020. And so we're recognizing, we did cut the budget for that because once the ARPA and COVID dollars were gone, we would have to eliminate other services in our system to maintain that level of microtransit service. So really this is about rebalancing and trying to make sure that our services are complementary rather than, stealing ridership from one another.
Thank you.
Well, if there's no further questions for Mr. Powers, we look forward to approving.
I have a couple more slides to go through. Sorry, Chairman. I'll be as brief as possible.
We'll keep,
The last part of
do my best.
the last part of the strategic plan that Tool Design Group looked at was some of the organizational things that that we should be considering as an agency. And first and foremost among them was the recommendation to rebrand. And there's certainly a robust conversation around the length of which to rebrand. What the recommendation from the strategic plan landed on was that by changing our name to Ride Joco instead of Ride KC in Johnson County, we could maintain our brand standard and that regional coordination, but also delineate between who's providing what services, and quite honestly, to take credit for some of the innovations that Johnson County has put into place on its transit system. So that was very much top of mind for the steering committee and the vendor. And then you've seen these before. These are some draft ideas around what our rebrand could look like. I know that there was, I believe, if my memory serves, a lot of love for the upper left with the sunflower from the board when we met, although I think folks didn't like the wheels under the O's in Johnson and Joco. So, these are not finalized. We'll come back to the board with some further ideas for direction as we get closer to an actual rebrand, but that is the recommendation on that front of it. And there's some further images here where you could see what that brand how it would be reflected throughout our, fare media and then on our real-time signs and on our vehicles. And then on fares, the strategic plan does recommend that we return to fares. That is also a conversation that's happening regionally. I think every agency in the Ride KC network is anticipating a return to fares. I have been working closely with our regional partners on what the fare level, the appropriate amount of fare to charge would be. And so as those decisions are adjudicated by other stakeholders, we'll keep this body in the loop. We have a pretty good idea where we think it's going to land. Certainly with the return to fares, we want to have provisions for a reduced fare, so some means testing. And the thing for this body to understand is the parameters of that means testing can be 100% and wholly determined by this body. You're not bound to accept a 100% of federal poverty level. It's whatever the BOCC would like to see as far as the means testing for reduced fares. And we are trying to get this done before the World Cup. There's obviously, we are anticipating doing some extra services for World Cup, and we would like to extract the benefit of charging fares for those extra services. Lastly, one of the things that we heard loud and clear was that, this first step towards a foundational system that we want to grow into the future, which will take time, can also feel like a little bit of, improvement by reduction. There are certainly stakeholders in our county that are going to lose access to microtransit. Commissioner Allen Brand has been very clear about her concerns around the lack of fixed route services to the southwest and to the South 6th District. And so we're not closing our eyes to that reality. The fact of the matter is, however, over the previous years when we used to run service from Kansas City, Missouri to the intermodal facility, 70-minute headways. So, asking a worker to add almost 2.5 hours to their workday, it was not well used, and it wasn't an efficient use of our public resources to offer that kind of connection. That is not to say that there are no options going forward. I think on-demand services can be potentially useful in areas that they are not going to be serving under this first foundational step. And then to take it a step further, Tool designed what they're calling a service development guidelines. This is a tool, right, to go out to the community and understand where can transit work. If we have a new employer who's coming to town that is not within our current service area, it is not something to say that we expect you're going to have to make a fiscal commitment, but we might ask cities to help us with being creative and looking at what they will allow zoning-wise. It may be that we're asking developers to consider thinking of transit amenities on the front side so that if transit does one day get to a employment center, that a bus can get right to the front door rather than having to drop people off a mile away at where the parking lot is. Those are all real-world examples that we have faced in the past. So the tool, this is just a flow chart that kind of simplistically shows you how that decision process would flow, takes into consideration many things: population, whether there's a fiscal input from a new transit area, whether that be a local jurisdiction or a developer or a new employer. Again, some of the zoning and other jurisdictional parameters that affect transit. So we want to look for ways to be a good partner. We want to look for ways to get out into the community and talk about what the needs are, both from a ridership basis, but also from a community and local jurisdiction perspective. And this tool will help us to do that and to really have a framework that is reliable and consistent over the years, that this board and future boards can point back to and say, yes, this project meets the criteria set by the standards, it scores enough points to move forward with new service, and we can rely on that as we develop transit into the future. So that is the end of my presentation today. I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Commissioner Ashcraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, Mr. Powers, I'm not sure I understood you fully, but why would we not ask cities for additional financial consideration if they're wanting specialized enhancements on services?
I apologize if that's the perception I gave. I didn't mean to indicate
Well,
that.
you talked about rezoning, and that
Yeah.
makes sense, but did I misunderstand?
I think maybe I was not eloquent enough in the way I put it. What I'm saying is it's not a mandatory ask, right? There are other ways that you could check that box with other incentives from a local jurisdiction, zoning changes, for example. We're never, saying that we're not going to consider a possible financial commitment. We would welcome that.
Take my money? No?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Commissioner Hanson.
Well, thank you. And as a member of the steering committee for this plan, I am thrilled that we are at this place today, that we are have this on our agenda and are going to be considering approving this plan. There's been untold hours of work that has gone into it by both Tool Design, by the Johnson County Transit staff, by people in the community who have all been part of this. And I think it's really important to emphasize that what's being proposed at this time is the foundational system for the next year that will use existing budgeted funds for transit. That doesn't mean that we cannot make different decisions in years to come. I think all of all of us hope that when people see what transit could be, there will be more support for investing in an expansion of these services, and we have a plan for that. It's not just let's try something and see how that works. We have a plan, and I just could not be more grateful to have this in front of us today. I did want to mention, I think someone asked about the full plan. That is an attachment on the briefing sheet. It's a 64-page final plan, so please enjoy yourselves reading that. But I think this is a big step for Johnson County. We have never, in my recent history with the county, had anything like this. And I think this is, there are cities and counties throughout the metro region who have been waiting for us to approve this so that they can start looking at how they might do something similar. We are really cutting edge in doing this plan. So thank you, Josh, for your leadership on this. And I'm just very excited about what the future holds for transit in Johnson County.
Well, thank you, Commissioner. I would be remiss not to point out the support of the board and also the county manager's office. Lots and lots of effort there.
Not seeing further questions on this one, so we'll see you next week for consideration and approval.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Item number 7, please.
Resolution number 150-25. Consider appointing Carolyn Logan as county appraiser for a term commencing January 1st, 2026 through June 30th, 2029 pursuant to KSA 19-430 as amended.
Aaron Otto with the County Manager's Office. And in lieu of time, we'll skip with a 60-page PowerPoint presentation that I had of pictures of Carolyn's life growing up and instead move into the subject ahead of you, which is, as you recall, our previous appraiser departed the position at the end of last year. We were very fortunate to have Kara Endicott serve as our interim appraiser for this, basically the whole calendar year of 2025. You went through a rigorous national selection process and selected Carolyn Logan to be your future county appraiser. The only challenge under Kansas statute is when you bring in somebody from the outside, they have to become a registered master appraiser or an RMA in Kansas, and that process does not go quickly. It's both rigorous, but it's also very spread out when the testing and classes are offered. I'm pleased to share that building on her experience of 2 master's degrees, 20 years of experience in the state of Kentucky or the Commonwealth of Kentucky, that she has successfully completed those coursework and classes and is now licensed as a registered master appraiser in the state of Kansas as recognized by the Division of Property Valuation and the Kansas Department of Revenue. And so what's before you today is a resolution naming Kara Endicott to be the official county appraiser starting January 1st, 2026, and then she would complete that term. As a reminder, they're 4-year terms, so she would have 3.5 years since Kara's carried the first 6 months of that term. Happy to answer any questions or allow the person to make any comments if Ms. Logan would like to. And she smiles.
Ms. Logan, congratulations. Given your history, we had no doubt that the coursework would be a breeze for you, but we appreciate the work you're doing on behalf of Johnson County, and I'm excited to support this resolution. Seeing no further comments, we'll move this to consent for next week, and thank you very much. With that, that's all the items on the agenda for next week. We are going to break now and come back at 1:30 for our Committee of the Whole, first undertaking the legislative session. In here.
Point of order, will we be meeting in this room next week also for our meeting, or do we know if we'll be ready to move back upstairs?
Ms. Posto-Ferguson.
The plan is to be back upstairs, but always leave the flexibility because there's a few details that have yet to be completed.
Thank you.
And we would notice that accordingly on our various channels, should the plan change. But the plan at this time is to be back upstairs next week. All right. Thank you all very much. This agenda review is adjourned.
Kentucky and